I was doing okay until I just saw Lost Ocean's comment in Twitch. I hope you get home safe, my dude. Like, tornadoes are not fun. Let's hope not. Otherwise, we're gonna have to zombie land them and just.
Is it working now? There we go. Cool. Okay. Apologies about that, people. You couldn't hear anything I was saying. Never mind. We're waiting for Ant to get started. That's the long and short of what was said. But yeah, Ryan, how you doing, man?
Yep, good, thank you. This mock was, I don't know, there's no logic or science behind it this year. I don't expect
100%.
I expect to get maybe 2 or 3, 4 or 5 right max. And that's probably it. I think it's just going to be pure carnage.
Yeah, I don't think I'm saying one right now. Like, I don't have faith at all.
Really? I got faith.
Yeah,
I reckon.
Because I've made some wild swings on some prospects. Plus, I think you all did it on PFF, and I did it on PFN. So, like, it might be that some of my positions are going to be way off where you guys have it. So I think I won last year. I'm not going to win this year, and not unless chaos breaks out, because mine's bad.
Oh wow, Ant, that's a very good name. I'm here for it.
Oh, I like that. Oh, better than mine, damn it.
My mock draft is a Shakespearean tale of trades and fairy tales and nothing that's going to happen. So I thought I'd, eulogize it as such.
Well, let's just hope you don't get struck with the bad luck that always happens when you name the play in the theatre.
The board's not up yet for people to see, is it? Because I'm still adjusting.
No, but we are going to be revealing Snake Style, starting with you.
That's fine. I'm just adjusting a couple of picks.
Are we doing other people's picks that are not on? How many have done a mock?
Only us and Tom have done one, and Tom has issues with trying to get a mortgage at the moment, so he's focusing on that quite rightly. So
yeah.
So we'll go through his, but no comments on it because he's not here to comment on it. But at least he gets a mock in. I'm just trying to see how many people have different decisions. Oh, I assume
we're all aligned on at least one.
Yeah, we'd hope we'd be aligned with pick the first overall at least.
We have some differences in picks 2 and 3 and 4, which I wasn't necessarily expecting, but oh wow, I've just seen one of Ryan's picks.
Look at my Denver pick. Look at my Denver pick is all I'm going to say.
No. We'll get there. But I am already excited.
See, Denver's the one that's screwing me. I'm just trying to make a last minute call on what they're going to do. So I don't know. It's just them. Then because if I change theirs, I need to change one other team.
Change everyone else. Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Brent has just said in the chat, Texas State offensive lineman Buddy just told me to check him out. Do you know who he's talking about late rounds UDFA?
Give it
a State offensive lineman.
Not
off the top of my head.
I recall having someone from Texas State.
I've got to be a very late pick then, so I can't think of them offhand.
Muxperiment just said, if you're short on cash, I have a spare 200 grand if he needs an easy borrow. For Tom. Thanks, man. Oh, I wish I had a spare 200k. That'd be nice. Offensive lineman, Texas State. Let's have a look.
200 grand don't actually get you that much in the UK.
No, it does not. But it would get you a deposit. Guards, OT, and C. College.
I can't find one. I can find a receiver, a corner,
Oh,
and
I
a D
don't.
lineman.
Unless he means Texas. Texas have a couple. Is it Christian Jones is the late one for Texas?
Wait, he's going to be. I've seen him in like day 2.
Kyle
Day
Hergel?
2.
No, that's Boston College. Never mind.
Yes,
Texas
Boston
State
College.
Bobcats prospects per draft buzz. Let's have a look.
That's what I was just on. It's Sean Shaw Jr., the wide receiver, Cordell Rogers, the corner, and then Nicholas McCann, the DL. But they're all like in the 400s.
Hmm. Well, this is just drawing a dead end. Never mind. Ignore. Okay. Shall we get the show on the road? And the clock will start ticking for you to make your choice.
Well, I assume it's going to snake back. Are we going to spend much time talking about the first pick, or?
Well, I mean, we'll talk about the first pick, but we're not going to snake it.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. I mean, like the first pick we're going to talk about will be 2, which is not me on the snake. But
I think if anyone's picked the same person, I'm going to try and reveal all of them at the same time, and those people can talk about that pick, just for efficiency's sake.
Yeah.
You've not started the show yet, have you? Or
No.
are we just going straight
No.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just quickly. I'll just quickly do this.
There will be time with the preamble and all of that stuff anyway. So
yeah.
Cool. All right, here we go then. Let's find record.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 264. I love mock and roll. My name's Matthew Cern, alongside Ashley Soden, Ryan McCluskey, and Anthony Fitzpatrick. How you doing, boys?
Doing great. I now know how James Houston felt after that Thanksgiving game last year, is all I'm going to say. Those in Discord know. They have seen, and they will see more later when I make my little caddy's cut up of the best flag football game ever done by a Brummie in 5 minutes.
I'm very good. Like I say, the draft is around the corner, and new Lions uniforms. Literally, we're talking hours, not days, almost. Hashtag bring back the black. That's all I can say. I want the black uniform back. We need to bring it back so we can be good in it, and then that abolishes when we're bad in it. You can't just leave it in history, because then it'll always stink.
Yeah. And how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing good, cheers. Glad when this mock's done. Stressed me out to hell trying to do it, but hey ho.
I mean, I put a lot less thought into it, and if I win, I'm going to laugh a lot harder, therefore. But there we go. No stress with this. This is our last main show in inverted commas, because we might try and sneak one in before the NFL draft. And I think with the college show done, our last show really totals. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. We are going to go through a little bit of news that came out today, because and I didn't realise that OTA started today, but they did start today. So just a bit of chat about yesterday. Apologies. Came out from the press conferences that happened earlier today. But just to start off, please join us on our Discord channel. It's going to be a great place to be during the draft. Also, if you're going to the draft, it's going to be a good place to get in touch with everyone who's going. So the link is going in Discord and in Twitch right now. Look forward to seeing you there. College Football Podcast, Ant and Ryan, concluded. When was that? Was that earlier? No, late last week, wasn't it? So,
last Wednesday.
So it was a big tease on our last show as to what it was going to be about. Why don't you tell the folks who haven't listened to it yet what exactly you did?
So basically, what we thought we'd do something a little more fun for draft prep. So what we did is I got a random number generator online, putting all the numbers in the draft from 1 to Mr. Irrelevant, and got it to pick 30 random numbers out. And then what I did is I ran a simulator mock draft on Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator, and the names of the 30 players that landed on the 30 numbers that I got out, me and Ryan had to predict where those players, which teams those players were going to land on the draft, and we are in competition with Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator. So we've got 30 players, 30 teams we've guessed, and hopefully one of us beats it. Otherwise, we're going to look a little silly. So. But yeah, it was a nice little fun challenge to the end of the year. Gives us some stakes for the draft.
I mean, it threw up a really diverse array of names, and how ironic that the only quarterback you get is Jordan Travis. You couldn't make it up.
And how desperately I wanted to send him to the Packers for the lols, but I rose above it. I rose above it. What can I say? I'm just, I'm like that. Magnanimous, as they say.
I mean, it could happen though, couldn't it? Who's their backup?
Sean Clifford.
Yeah, so
I was about to say Jordan Love, but that joke's a bit too obvious.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway, go and listen to that episode because it's really interesting and a bit of a deep dive into some of the other prospects that you've not heard about just yet. Please don't forget to like this episode and sub to the podcast and rate and review and all that good stuff. And go and add Lions Nation Unite on their Facebook group as Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. With Twitch-affiliated YouTube monetized as a tip jar as well, floating around somewhere in the description on YouTube. So if you're enjoying what you're listening to, you want to show some love, that'd be great. There's a feedback form too down there, and also a link to our merch store if you want to support the show, but get a beanie or a hoodie back for your donation. Let's get on with the news. And it all came out of the press conferences that happened just a couple of hours ago. The Lions are in contract talks with Jared Goff and Taylor Decker. I don't think any of those are a particular surprise, but it was reconfirmed to us. I think both Goff and Decker basically said, I'm leaving it up to the agents and it's in the early stages, or I'm not revealing where it's at because honestly I don't know, or something to that effect. So it's happening and we don't know how far along it is. Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't present for the voluntary activities yesterday, but Goff says he's not worried as they've done a lot of work together in California in this off-season. Brock Wright says he didn't know that the Lions had matched the 49ers offer until 2.5 hours before the deadline. Otherwise, he would have gone to San Francisco. And Decker also revealed that he had ankle and foot surgery this offseason, says he will be healthy for camp. And it was fixing the ankle injury that he had last year, which caused a stress fracture he'd been carrying around since his college days to get worse to the point where he needed to actually have it fixed. So he wasn't able at all to train in February. He's now able to do some work, but he's not going to be fully healthy for the moment. And then we'll have to get to training camp, which is July? Offhand, training camp? Sounds about right?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
Any thoughts on any of those points of news, boys? I don't think there's anything terrifically noteworthy there, but it's all we have.
Yeah, like I left out some of like the fluffier stuff. So obviously Brock saying he's glad he stayed here because the price per square footage is better in Detroit than it is San Francisco. That's got a few chuckles. And then him calling Steve Hayden, the tight ends coach, the best coach he's ever worked with, and he said he knew he was going to take some flack from Ben for saying that, but Hayden really helped him with his pass blocking and stuff early in the season, which we kind of saw. But obviously, for the most part, yeah, it was just same old. We all knew what was going to be said. Like, we knew Goff and Decker were probably having talks because that's what we do every player. We probably talk to every player about an extension when they're roughly eligible and try and work out a price because that's just good practice in the NFL. So, yeah, nothing really too surprising out of the pressers this today.
If I had to guess, I'd say Goff negotiations are probably quite a way off. I think they're probably further away than they are closer. Decker, I think the Decker deal will probably be the last deal he plays on. Like I say, it'll probably just be a lifetime deal, then the Ring of Honor. I reckon they're talking last one. Am I worried about foot surgery? Right now, no concerns, but we'll see. Hopefully it was just to tidy up. And yeah, Amon-Ra not being there, it doesn't bother me. Voluntary OTAs, frankly, there's only a few players on a few teams where if they don't turn up, you're slightly worried. He's not one of them. Like I say, he's not like Cortland Sutton, who's basically said, I'm not coming until you give me more guaranteed money. So, like I say, and the more wide receivers that get paid, I really just don't think it changes the market. I just don't think the deal changes. I think it's pretty much set. Like I say, what he's getting or what he wants. I just don't think the demands will change that much by anything that happens between now and then. So yeah, totally fine. Like I say, sounds like Brock was fairly content. Like I say, to go 49ers. It sounds like he was quite surprised they came in so late and made an offer. But yeah, he did also say that, like I say, it's the best thing that ever happened to be a UDFA in Detroit. So yeah, like I say, I'm very happy, and it's a good start to camp.
Yeah,
All right.
not really a lot to add. It's just regular off-season stuff, in the contract speculation, all that sort of stuff. Real meat and bones will happen when the draft's done and Brad's got time on his hands. So
Yeah. All right, we're going to go through our mock draft. We're going to go through snake style. So we start with Ant, we end with Tom's, who's not here today, and then we start again with Tom for pick 2 and then go all the way back down. The only amendment to that is that when people have similar picks, instead of going through someone twice, we're going to reveal all of the similar picks together. And kicking off with pick number 1 in the 2024 NFL Draft, it's chalk for all 5 of us. Caleb Williams from USC to the Chicago Bears. And we haven't talked much about Caleb Williams on the main show. I'm sure on the college show you might have mentioned him a few times, but we've kind of focused a bit lower down in this draft cycle. So just maybe a brief mention on Caleb Williams and what he's like as a prospect and what we're going to be facing in the NFC North next season.
you're the Pac-12 guy, right? Or former.
What's that with saying? I don't fear him. Like I say, he don't strike any fear in me whatsoever. Like I say, he's interesting character. Some people seem to hate him or love him. Like I say, because he's a bit quirky, he's a bit emotional. Like I say, a bit erratic, but he's the best quarterback in the class right now. Feeling wise, I have someone above him. When we did our top 5 position guys, I did put someone above him. But yeah, when I think even before Fields was traded, we knew this was happening. All that about, I'll stay in college if the Bears are going to take me. Like, no, you won't. Shut up, you big diva. Stop trying to attract attention. But yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. I think he'll hit the ground running pretty quickly. I can't see them dealing it, even though they would get an absolute mammoth trade. I just don't see the point.
He is only going to be as good as the Bears allow him to be. In the, are they going to protect him? Because you saw at USC, like, the great offense there, and he could come up with so many plays off piste and stuff like that. But, there's only so far that's going to get you. Like, you can't just go scrambling for deal. That's what Justin Fields essentially did. He wasn't allowed enough time in the pocket. He had to scramble too much. He took too many hits to the head, etc. And, we'll talk about the mocks later, obviously. But if their next pick in this draft is not an offensive lineman, they don't care about Caleb Williams. I'm just going to say that outright. Because if you're going to invest in a franchise quarterback, you've got to invest in protecting him. So his ceiling is going to be defined by that team and that team only. He's a hella talented player. He has his issues, but like we've seen with Justin Fields incredibly talented. He hit a ceiling because the Bears wouldn't let him go any higher. So, but he's absolutely going to be the pick here. They're not going to swerve us.
Yeah, he's not my QB. Well, people who've watched the podcast for the past couple of months know he's not my QB1. Someone else's, but yeah, it's been the office pick. It's been the office pick since day one since last season, pretty much. We knew that Williams would probably be the QB1. It's kind of like Trevor Lawrence a couple of years ago. Everyone knew coming into that draft cycle, he was QB1. He's going to be the first overall pick. That's that kind of thing. So yeah, as we said, doesn't scare me because as you got as Ryan and Ant both rightly pointed out, and Matt has said to me on the streams before when we've had the May versus Williams debate, he will be as good as they allow him if they can protect him, if they give him. But they've tried to give him weapons now, obviously bringing in Keenan Allen this offseason, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. He's got things there. It will be that offensive line, and can they get that defense well? Because that's the thing that didn't really work for him at USC. We all know how the Grinch was for him last season. So they've got him now. Will they break him? Maybe. Will he be a superstar? Maybe. There's a wide range of possibilities.
I used to think, much like all of you three, and I've actually done a bit more work on him, even though he's the presumptive number 1 pick. I wanted to understand a bit more about him. And I have changed my mind. And I'm not excited about this at all. I really do see what everyone's saying about him now in terms of him being that special guy. And I actually think he's special enough that I'm not sure that the Bears' offensive line will hold him back, which is a scary prospect. There's plenty of examples of him on tape being a in-structure passer that isn't ad-libbing and isn't having to create outside the pocket. I know that the USC offensive line was bad and he was running for his life a lot, but there's plenty of examples of him just doing it in structure and being terrifically efficient. Like, super accurate and getting the ball out quickly. I mean, the thing which really distinguishes Williams from, say, Fields, because, you know, you've got to make that comparison, because is that Williams gets the ball out quickly when he wants to. His fault is that sometimes he wants to be the hero so that he holds on to it too long because he's seen something that he can do and waits for it. But Fields was doing that because there's just some stuff he's not capable of yet, like the short kind of touch passing to get him out of trouble. But Williams can do all of that. He is not taking the easy pass sometimes because he wants to do better than that. The thing is, he's shown that he's capable of doing those things too. So in the NFL, when he's got a veteran coaching him as QB2, which you would hope they would do for him, when they've got a quarterbacks coach dedicated to him and a head coach who knows what he's doing, debatable, but, you know, it's the NFL. I really think he could be the next special thing. And I look at what Stroud was able to do, and if I compare Stroud and Williams as prospects, for me, Williams is better. So that scares the hell out of me. I don't know. All of this stuff about, the Bears' offensive line could hold them back. Well, they're not going to be worse than the USC offense. And he did fine. Like, he's the number one pick. So it can't be that bad. I know that USC didn't do great things, but USC's defense sucked, and I know that the Bears' defense used to suck, but they have actually invested. Like, they weren't awful last year despite not having the best record. I'm scared. I'm a little bit scared. Anyway, sorry for the downer on that one, but there we go. Watching more tape has not done me any favours. We're going to pick 2, but I just realised I haven't actually told you guys what the rules of this mock draft are, so I should probably do that. This is not what we would do. This is not what we think those teams should do. This is a predictive mock. We are going to award ourselves 1 point for the player going at the right pick number. We are awarding ourselves 1 point for the player going to the right team in spite of the pick number, and an extra point if you get both pick and team correct for that player. And I also think if you pick I haven't said that in the rules, I think we've done this one before, so I'm going to say that it's in. You get a negative point if you put in a player who does not appear in the first round. And then whoever gets the most points is the winner. And I think we've said before, even though we've never met up, someone's got a really large bar tab. Everyone has to buy the winner a drink. Or before we've done the loser has to buy a round, don't we? That's more fun. Don't come last. So those are the rules. And we will see what happens when we get there. We're getting on with pick 2 now. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of agreement in these picks as well. In fact, there's only one person who hasn't gone the same way on pick 2. That person is me. Everyone else has gone for Jaden Daniels to Washington. So you 3 have all gone the same way. Why is Jaden Daniels the pick at 2, and what does Jaden Daniels bring to the NFL?
Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback of the whole class, and he's got the highest ceiling. What he can do on the run, what he can do escaping pressure out of the pocket, how incredibly elusive he is against an offensive line that just got a quarterback sacked, a record 63 times or something. I don't care that I say he's built like a beat ball. Like I say, that won't hold him back. Like I say, he's got a velocity, he's got arm. Like I say, he can roll out left, he can roll out right, he can generate everything. But don't take this from me, because I'm incredibly biased, because I had him for multiple years. So this is me talking, like I say, the Sun Devil, who knew just how good he was, and I watched him show it last year. Is this a good fit for him? Probably not, no. I don't. I think they'll probably get him murdered. Like I say, because I don't trust them. But yeah, I think it's going to happen. And I think long term, like I say, if you looked now to 10 years in time, I think he could have the best career of all rookie quarterbacks in this class. But I don't think that'll be long term as a commander. But yeah, Washington. Yeah, I think they're gonna go for the riskier option.
See, I'm only just going to say this is the one pick in my entire draft where I gave in to peer pressure. I don't believe he's the second best QB in the draft. I believe that's Drake May. I believe the sensible thing for the Washington Commanders to do would be to take Drake May, but unfortunately, I'm just seeing it everywhere now. The best place to win points in this thing is in the top five, because after the top five, you're screwed because the trades, positions, all that sort of stuff. I'm just trying to get a couple of early points on the board. I have simply gone with consensus. I believe the pick should be Drake May. I don't buy into this because all the thing I see about Jaden Daniels to Washington is he'll fit Lincoln Riley's scheme better. That's bull, course, not Lincoln Riley. Old Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury, my bad. He will fit Cliff Kingsbury's system better. Cliff Kingsbury plays with spread offense. Drake May played in a pro spread at school. Jaden Daniels played in RPO. So that's bull. He's not going to fit his system better, but Washington, as I said, when new owners want to give a nice shiny new toy to get the fans on board, and with the stench of Sam Howell and UNC quarterbacks still knocking around there, I think they're going to take the flashy toy rather than the proper option. I'm not knocking him, but I'm just saying I have given into peer pressure here only. That's the only reason he's here for me.
Stench is a very strong word. Sorry, Ash.
So to say, so yeah, for me, Drake May is my QB1 in this class, and he has been for a while. But yeah, I agree that the Washington basketball team will select the big shiny toy for their new thing rather than making a sensible pick. I kind of have to disagree a bit with Rye because I've seen Jaden Daniels run into getting suplexed twice in the past two week one matchups in college. He does have all the flashy mobility, but he can run into trouble quite a lot, which is going to be an issue when he's behind such a bad Commanders offensive line, as we said. Got a QB sacked a record amount of times. If he's going to have to scramble out of pressure against, I know Philadelphia aren't going to be as good as they were last year, but they'll still have some good pass rushing weapons. The Cowboys still have Tank Lawrence and Micah Parsons. The Giants have got Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns now. Jaden Daniels is going to get beat to heck again behind that Commanders offensive line. But because he's the big flashy thing, he's just won the Heisman and that, it's the perfect figurehead for this new regime. Could it work out? Yeah, sure. He's got loads of tools there, but he has perhaps out of these QBs in the top sort of echelon, he's probably got the biggest bust potential for me.
So I decided to go in the other direction. I went with what I thought was the sensible option because I still think we're in silly season right now. I know that all of the stuff came out about them having already picked him, presumably, or something. I don't know. Some expert decided to reveal that he'd been told that Jaden Daniels was going to be the pick of two. And I think that's what sparked all of this off, which is crazy to me. On Jaden Daniels, obviously I'll pick him later, but special kid, absolutely. But I worry about that style of player in the NFL. Like, is he going... I don't know how to word this. I don't think he's going to see long-term success playing the way that he does right now, and I'm not sure that he can change. Like, I think he's successful because of who he is, and because of who he is, I don't think he'll... Someone will pay him a load of money for his first pro contract and instantly regret it. And it will just be done. Like, not like RG3, because he's not that guy either, but I don't...
Send back Cam Newton, but Cam Newton did it, and he had the same issues, didn't he? Reckless, slender.
There's not anything upstairs which goes, no, don't do that. I don't know, that scares me. So I did go for Drake May from UNC, who is probably just about my QB2, might be QB1B for me, but special guy, all the passes, great arm strength, good decision maker. I mean, Ash, let's defer to you because he's your QB1. What do you like about Drake May?
As you said, he's got good arm talent. He has good decision making. Has been used in a couple of schemes. Obviously, we said with pro spread, but he's also been used as a rough ahead of a lot last season. So we know he can take that kind of punishment. He just kind of, let's be frank about it. He got screwed over by UNC. They didn't really give him much to work with when his weapons started leaving. Obviously, last year we drafted one Rantock Green and that. And yet he kind of kept UNC kind of relevant when the defense was going down bad, didn't have much weapons. So it could be one of those where it gets into the pros. He now has an offensive line in front of him. He now has weapons to work with, and he can build on those things that made him look good in college and work on some of the stuff that he doesn't, because sometimes because he's had no one to work with, he just forced the ball a lot. He does have those games where he has 5 interceptions in the same game just because he's trying to force it to play catch up with the opposing offense. But at the same time, he probably has a pretty decent floor as well now in the NFL if you give him the right kind of stuff around him, which I think certain teams will be able to, and certain teams will be able to get him build around him as well. So he might have the sort of, and it's kind of spoiling what we're going to discuss in a minute, he might have a Mac Jones kind of career path where maybe he just stays that consistent sort of mid to bottom tier QB in the league just because he isn't built on to be able to build on things. But I think he does have that range of outcomes to be, dare I say it, like the next Matt Stafford.
So just to show this, Ash and Tom have both got Drake May at pick 3. Ryan, and Drake May has had a tumultuous process, shall we say, maybe of all of the quarterbacks in this. He's the only one who's really seen a fall from where he was at the start of this. Jaden Daniels has ascended, Caleb Williams to stay where he is, JJ McCarthy's really ascended, Bo Nix and Penix, I'm not really sure whether they kind of stayed where they are, I think. But Drake May was kind of in that conversation for QB1, even though he was maybe regarded as not quite up to Caleb Williams. But it was a conversation for a while. And now, firmly, some people have him dropping outside of the top 10 or going around about 8 or whatever. What do you see in him as a prospect? Do you agree with him falling a little bit in the media's mocks? What do you think of him as a prospect and what he could bring to New England or Washington if he goes there?
For me, he should never have stayed at UNC. Didn't do himself any good. For me, like I say, their offense too heavy on the pass. Like I say, sometimes, like I say, too spread. Sometimes, like I say, the reads and everything was just a bit like spoon-fed. I thought, problem with me is ultimately it's turnovers. I've seen way too many games where he is just flat out sloppy. Like I say, in the last 2 years, 16 interceptions, 6 fumbles. For me, I've seen issues with turnovers and ball security. I think he can work on them, but right now, I do see someone that makes careless throws. He forces into windows that aren't there. He has been forced to try too hard at times because, for me, the Tar Heels, they fucking suck. And they're the same issues as Sam Howell. And he should have left. He should have declared it his junior year, or he should have gone. I'm entering the grad portal, and he should have gone to a better school. Like I say, I don't think he'd have gone any higher, but he might have a chance to probably win something. Like I say, he's got that pure prototypical build, like 6'4", like 230. It's how you want him. It's how you want them built. Yeah, like I say, he's one of those. Like I say, I find it very hard to place him. I say it's going to those. Like I say, some love him, some are like, some put him in that second tier with the other guys. I can give or take him. I say I understand. For me, he was never in conversation for QB1 or first overall. Like I say, but I can understand if Washington take him. I think it'd make a lot of sense. Like I say, he has got, I think, probably one of the best natural arms of the whole class. Just a cannon. He's got laser accuracy when he needs to be. There are other guys there when the ball gets a bit deeper, it gets a bit more wobbly. So but he's got the tightest spiral, I think, against the longest distance.
I mean, he's suffering the Sam Howell treatment right now. in the Sam Howell has consistently been let down his entire career through college, at Washington. Like, he's not been given a chance to succeed, really, and he's out of there. And now people are looking and they're trying to make the same lazy comparisons with that. And when you're scouting a quarterback, when you're looking at a quarterback, you've got to look at the situations they're in. Like, it's very popular to like Jaden Daniels because, oh, he's the shiny dual threat quarterback. It's very popular to like JJ McCarthy because everyone's saying, oh, well, you know, and Jim Harbaugh says he's the next incarnation of Andrew Luck. He's stupidly talented. They've just won the Natty, etc. But like, these UNC quarterbacks, one, they never work with a defense that's any better than 60th or 70th in the nation in college. They work with some utter dross who give up stupid amounts of points, meaning the quarterbacks have to do a stupid amount of work. Like, we talk about all his turnovers. Like, the dude has to air the damn thing out because his defense keeps giving up points. You've got to. JJ McCarthy doesn't have that problem. He just sits back and watch Blake Corum run it for 3/4 of a game and then throws every now and then when he needs to, when they've got a comfortable 30-point lead. Drake May's running for his life behind a mere offensive line with a defense that just can't stop giving up points. The situations he's in are hopeless in comparison to it. And he gets critiqued when it comes to big games. Well, like, Ash mentioned this, and I will say this because Ash is the FSU homer. He's played twice against them, and they have made him look poor. I don't mean poor. They've made him look atrocious in that he didn't do a damn thing against them either year. And he should be, because that's NFL-level talent he's coming up against. There's a lot of NFL players in that FSU defense he's faced the last 2 years, and that offense has done the square root of nothing. And you think of the guys he's got on there, why have you not performed in those big games? Yes, I know you won one SEC West title, etc., but, you know, you also have not performed in the big games either. You've beaten up on small teams like Grambling and all this sort of stuff where you put up in 500 yards of passing, fine. But they don't get the same level of scrutiny. And Drake May gets it because Sam Howell's been up there. He's always been the number 2 pick. It's just silly season where people are trying to create narratives and fuel rumors and all this sort of stuff. And Drake's the one who's taken the fall for it this year. He's going to be, if he lands in a good situation, in the right scheme, a very good NFL quarterback. And people are going to realize it sooner rather than later. It's all bogus about him.
Just for clarity's sake, I have Jaden Daniels the other way, so he's going to New England for me. Ash and Tom had Drake May at 3, which leaves Ryan and Ant, who have not gone in this direction and are instantly surrendering points. But what they have done is they've taken the guy that I potentially have been highest on out of all of us in the process, and they've gone and put JJ McCarthy at New England, which is what I said was going to happen all along, and then I didn't bloody do it. But they have. So, explain yourselves. McCarthy from Michigan going at 3.
I mean, all you've just shown there is you don't believe in your own takes. You don't have the fortitude and the backbone to back it up, so...
You were the person who said you bowed to peer pressure at pick 2, so that's a bit rich.
Well, no, because we're in the... I've broken all the rules here. I've done what I do, but apart from that one, I just want to at least try and get 2 points right. After this, so for me, JJ McCarthy, why he makes sense with the New England Patriots. Like, this is me being rank hypocritical, saying Drake May is the second best quarterback in class, and I'm dropping him to 4. But I'm taking a look at it from the Patriots' standpoint. So the Patriots, they are not in a position to challenge for the AFC East right now. They are so far behind the likes of the Bills, the Dolphins. Hell, if the Jets get good this year, they're not in a position where they're going to be successful right away. So if you're going to take a chance on a quarterback who has, like JJ McCarthy, if he hits his ceiling of what he could become, if everything and all the stars align and everything goes well, his ceiling will be higher than what Drake May is. I'm not saying that's nothing, but I think that's where he'll be at. He fits the system. You think he comes from Michigan. Patriots, what do the Patriots love to do? Establish the run, throw later. You want a quarterback who can work in that system. That's what JJ McCarthy has done with Michigan. He's going to get more time to develop in that system. It's not like he's going to go to Washington and they're going to want results year 1 and they're going to chuck him away if he doesn't do well, like it's been done with Howell, although it's 2. But the way he fits their system, the way they're not ready to challenge yet, they're in a position to let this development play out. I think the Patriots, he fits more the mold for me of a guy who's going to go there. Like I say, Drake May plays the spread offense, likes to throw it up a lot. Patriots don't like to do that. And I don't think it's going to change under Jerome Mayo because he's from that system, thick and thin. He is going to want a quarterback who represents the system he's grown up with. He's going to want to alter it a little, but ultimately his core, he's going to want to keep it the same. I think JJ's a better fit here, and if they're going to do it, that's where they're going to go. I have absolutely no doubt they're going to take a quarterback. I just think JJ fits them better, that's all. This is what I do, so I'm breaking the rules.
With no disrespect to JJ McCarthy, he's spoiled. He doesn't know how lucky he's had it in college. An elite run game, a great O-line, great weapons. That guy's had to break a sweat for 2 years. And the guy won a national title. And that's not his fault. I'm not using that against him. He's had it way easier than the other guys that have taken before him, that have been in worse situations or have been constantly getting sacked and pummeled. This guy's coming out of this cleaner than anyone. And yeah, the ghost of Bill Belichick still is alive and kicking. Kraft will want a strong pocket passer that can stay in a pocket, step up and deliver a strike, and does not turn the ball over. For me, he's the most protective of all these guys. I think sometimes McCarthy is a little bit too safe, I say, but I think that short intermediate range, what the Patriots will like to do, because for me, I just don't think they've got that much of a downfield passing offense. I just don't think they're ever going to install that. I say he likes a run game, and he likes that to open up the pass, attack the sidelines, line first down markers, get him some good tight ends as well. Patriots like tight ends. Michigan have always liked tight ends. I just think it kind of fits. And I think, I think he can have a really steady rookie season, but the team in general won't light things up. But let's be honest, they're scrapping it out. They're tearing it all down, and that's not a worse situation. It's the worst situations you could be in, where like someone's going to expect him to win something. He's not right now. This is a long-term player.
Ash, I know you've not picked him here, but let's just round off the discussion on JJ. What do you think of him?
So he is my QB. It's tough between him and Daniels. I keep going back and forth to him. I do like elements of him, as we've discussed before, when we've had, I think it was the Drake May versus JJ McCarthy discussion a couple of weeks ago. For me, it is, it's just I haven't seen some of the stuff that I've seen with all the other QBs where they've had to play under duress. With JJ, he has had it easy. Elite offense, NFL caliber offensive line, NFL caliber running backs. Maybe, and Michigan fans might not like this, wide receivers haven't been to maybe the standard that some of the other guys have had it. Goff, Jaden Daniels, for instance, but elite defense as well. Great head coach. He hasn't really had to be the guy for Michigan in the way that some of the others have for their teams. Like I know I mentioned it with Matt a couple of weeks ago when we made some discussion. Case in point, that is the Penn State game where in the second half he threw one pass and that went incomplete on a penalty. All the other times he just ran the ball. The identity of Michigan has been the running game and the defense and the offensive line. It hasn't been JJ. And so, he's got tools there. He could absolutely be a great QB. I wouldn't be surprised if we look back in 10 years and he has turned out to be the best QB in this class, kind of like how Kirk Cousins turned out to be the best one from his draft class. But for me, it's just I've seen more of some more elite stuff from Jaden Daniels with his running abilities. I said, I know, yes, he runs into trouble and he isn't the strongest guy, but he's got that running ability. Caleb Williams, pretty much top tier across everything, all the intangibles. Drake May's got that laser arm and he's had to play in duress and he can do it. With JJ, I haven't seen an elite trait for him to hang his hat on. And we all know when I'm looking at first round guys, especially high in the first round, I'm looking for that one elite trait you can hang your hat on. For me, I haven't really seen it from JJ, so I'm not the highest on him. He's my QB4. I still have picked him in relatively high, but there's a reason I've picked the others above him.
Yeah, he's firmly my QB3. I have him like a fair amount above Daniels as well. And the reason for that is just that I think he's a smarter quarterback when it comes to decision making. I trust JJ McCarthy to do the right thing, and whether that is pre-snap or post-snap, I just think he makes better decisions. So if he's sliding protections or doing any of that stuff, he's making calls at the line that other quarterbacks in this range are not making. So I think he's further developed as a pro-ready quarterback. Now, he doesn't have the reps like the other guys do with drop-back passing. I don't think that's because they didn't trust him to do that. Because they did trust him to do that in certain scenarios. There were some games where the run game was so dominant that they decided winning games was more important than developing McCarthy as a player. That's how I read that situation. Other people see it differently, and that's absolutely fine. But what I've seen on tape is a guy who has, in terms of arm strength, probably the best in the class. Certainly has the strongest arm at the combine, but I think that JJ McCarthy has a stronger arm than Drake May, personally. So I know that Ash is just giving me the face of someone who's incredulous, and I just don't care. That's what I believe. But yeah, he has been absolutely spoiled with that offensive line. There's absolutely no doubt. When it comes to facing adversity against a team whose defense is outmatching his offensive line, there is going to be an element of transition there for him. The other thing that I have concern with JJ is that I have never seen him throw a touch pass in his life. He throws every pass like it needs to be there yesterday. Like everything is a bullet, it's a rifle. And I think that receivers are going to come away from him and say, that hurt. Like I'm feeling it in my hands the next day. And you heard what Megatron said about playing with Stafford eventually, like it absolutely destroyed his hands. I want McCarthy to develop that touch pass, the feather that just kind of drops in the right place in the breadbasket outside the numbers. Because I think McCarthy might be the best of all of these guys in between the numbers as well, which is quite nice because you don't often see quarterbacks at this level be able to pass over the middle very well. A lot of them are kind of getting these easy balls outside the numbers. Or, I mean, some can't do that. You get your own flavour for someone. But for JJ, he can absolutely do that. That's one of his strengths. And that's going to work really well with teams who have a good tight end. New England invested in that. They've let those guys go now. But, you know, there are other teams who have really good tight end play who are going to really value a player like him. So I think it's going to be like with every quarterback, what's the landing spot? And I agree with Ant in that McCarthy to New England just makes all the sense in the world because their scheme fits what he does best. We move on to pick 4. Screw the snake. I'm just going to do what makes sense to me. And what makes sense to me right now is saying that 4 of us are aligned and 1 of us are not. So, Ant, you're being left to last because the other 4 of us all have Marvin Harrison Jr. at pick 4 to the Arizona Cardinals. Ash, I'll come back to you first. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a heck of a prospect at wide receiver.
He really is. I might be going out on a limb here by saying this, but also might not be because I honestly don't know if you guys agree with the take. Best wide receiver prospect to come out since Julio. Honestly, like just great at everything. And in terms of coming to the Cardinals, I know they might be getting some calls for teams to try and jump LA for maybe an offensive tackle. I think they should stick here because putting MHG in this offense. I mean, we saw what Kyler Murray did with Nuke Hopkins a couple of years ago, and Harrison could be that for this offense. He really could be. Just go back to that sort of days where, because that's when the Cardinals, back when the Cardinals were good, that's what it was. It was Murray to Hopkins. And Steichen, he's seen what happens to these kind of QBs that Murray's maybe in that same tier off with Hurts, where you give him this kind of receiver when the Eagles traded for AJ Brown. So I think for him, I know he's obviously a defensive guy. He's going to want to help his QB because obviously the QB is the big thing for the franchise and just get him a weapon to throw to because they've traded away of Rondale Moore. They've got Trey McBride, who obviously we all love here on the podcast. He was one of our favourites in that draft class. He just needs that outside presence to really throw to because of his height, Kylo can't really use the middle. So he needs those outside guys. It's kind of like the inverse of Lamar Jackson, where all of his receiving weapons have to be over the middle. Get him someone on the outside, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is the perfect fit for me for this offense.
Right, what do you think of that take? Marvin Harrison Jr. best since Julio? Because it's a big claim.
I mean, there just hasn't been that many elite guys that have come out in that time. For me personally, I think it's a fair assumption. For me, this pick was the easiest of the draft. As you say, Rondale Moore's gone. They've whiffed on multiple receivers. Like, God, they've made some awful choices. Like what? Andy, Isabella, all sorts of garbage the last few years. And for me, this is make or break year for Kyler and Marmite Murray. Bad year, Kyler is gone. And I don't think there's any two ways about it. So go out there and get the best weapon for him now and in the next year or two for your new quarterback, because the clock is ticking on him. Right, so yeah, the defense got some pieces. Offense, it lacks true weapons. Like I say, a lot of guys have come and gone. But yeah, if they're gonna have a real go, like I say, in starting to rebuild, because I believe in Jonathan Gannon. I actually really like him as a head coach. I think he might be the guy to turn it around. Like I saw watch him beat the Cowboys last year, and I saw a team that is fighting for him. So they could be that hero to zero, the zero to hero team this year. Yeah, whatever they do, don't take the haul, take him, and they won't regret it.
And you didn't go for him here, but what is MHJ to you in this process? Because I know you're a big fan.
He's going to be a top 3 receiver in the NFL in 2 years. Like, that's how good he is. He's special, an elite talent, generational, some might say, and yeah, he's everything. I don't want him near the NFC North. So if this does happen, then I'll be very happy because we won't have to see him that often. So, but he's a tremendous talent. Absolutely agree. And I think it's fair to comp him up with the likes of Julio, and that if he hits his ceiling, he'll be better than Julio. So yeah, he's a transcendent talent.
I am torn between Jamar Chase and Marvin Harrison Jr. because Chase was that guy. I mean, we all know what Penei Sewell turned into, and the debate always was Chase or Sewell. And I'm not sure that you can say the Bengals made the wrong choice, given how good Chase has been in the NFL. When I think of him as a prospect, I know that he had the COVID year, which everyone was concerned about coming into the process, but then he still got picked above Sewell despite that because of how good he was in college. But I think that's the only guy who can hold a candle to what Marvin Harrison Jr. has done in college. I mean, just the most polished and just so angry catching the ball, like snatching it away from people. Like when a bad ball's thrown his way and him turning into the defender, it's like he's the best DB on the field. And that's a horrible thing to say about a player, but it's fantastic to watch. So, yeah, he makes people look stupid on the field. And, I mean, God knows, like you say, Arizona need wide receivers. But, Ant, you did not give Arizona a wide receiver.
Not yet. So this is where my draft goes. What is the term?
Pete Tong?
Not Pete Tong. No, there's very good reasoning behind it. It's avant-garde. It's an avant-garde mock draft. I like that term. So I've got a trade going on here. Now, everyone thinks the Vikings are going to trade up to 5 with the Chargers once this is said and done and go and get whichever QB's left at this point here. But I think this is a lot more serious for the Vikings that has been let out. So I've got the Vikings coming up. They've got to give up 11. They've got to give up 23. And they've got to give up next year's first as well. Everyone says it's just going to be the 2 picks this year. But if I'm Arizona, no matter how good Marvin Harrison Jr. is, there are very few receivers, maybe Jefferson alone, who you would pay 3 first-round picks for. There's always a value to everything. And I have an alternate plan for the Cardinals here, which is better for them. So in terms of the Vikings, So everyone's going to go, Kwesi's not going to do that. He's an analytics guy. He's a stock trader guy. There's no way he's going to let himself get ripped off like that unless he realizes that the NFC North is leaving the Vikings behind. We rule the roost with a great GM right now. We're just getting stronger. The Packers are pretty damn good with Jordan Love at the helm. And as much as it pains me to say it, the Bears with Caleb and a new infusion of talent there are probably going to be better than the Vikings. And very soon, Kwesi's going to be staring at the barrel of the gun, which is in his face, about to do his career in. He's got to make a move sooner rather than later. Staying at 11 and picking Bo Nix or Michael Penix, settling for a second-rate quarterback to save yours and your head coach's tenure, that's also not a very good option. So as the Cardinals, all I'm saying to them is, well, New York Giants are sat there at 6. I'll just give him to them instead, and you're not going to get a quarterback at all, and I'm going to bend them over, and I'm going to take what I can from them, and then I'm going to use that to, do my strategy there. Drake May makes a lot of sense for the Vikings. If he's the one who falls, you think of the weapons they've got, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, like there is a lot of weapons. You can build a spread offense around him, and he will be the guy who'll deal the ball out all over the show for you. So, and the offensive line's all right. They should, they hopefully be able to bolster it up a little bit more. But he's got Darisaw at left tackle. He's in a position to succeed there. And for the Vikings, they can stay relevant in the NFC North instead of getting left way behind. So I think they have to go and get him sooner than that, because I do think the Giants are lurking and will make a move if not. And it's going to cost them a lot less to come up and do it. If they don't cough up to the Cardinals, they're going to have to cough up all 3 picks to the Chargers. Just depends where they do it. I think they go aggressive. Get Drake first. And I think that saves his job, O'Connell's job, and it gives Minnesota a chance in the future, even if they do have to mortgage it a little bit.
So what are the trade terms are you theorizing with this?
11, 23, and their 2025 first for number 4. They're giving up 3. But
yikes.
His alternative is to stop at 11, pick Penix or Nix, and hope for the best. You either go down swinging or you go down with a whimper. And I have to believe that his analytics side will give in eventually, because he's not going to sit there and take a second-rate quarterback. You look where the NFC North is, they're going to get left behind very soon. And coming into year 3 or 4 of your tenure, being bottom of the conference, is going to get you fired. So desperate regimes start to make more desperate choices. And there's a few more in my mock draft who do this as well.
Not to get ahead of... Sorry?
I was about to say, I like the fit with Drake May because, as I said a couple of weeks ago, who was Drake May's high school head coach? Kevin O'Connell. Perfect fit. It just never happened for me in my mock. But yeah, I can see it happening if that happened. Like your situation, and avant-garde as it is, I can see it happening.
Talking of trading up to get a quarterback, at pick 5... Tom, myself, and Ash all have Minnesota going up to get JJ McCarthy. So, Ash, what were your trade terms for JJ?
I honestly can't remember because of PFN, but I know it was definitely the 2 first rounders this year, and I believe it was a second next year. So basically just 1 round less than what Ant had for number 4 to come up for it, because it doesn't have to fit with Drake May that Kevin Connell does, but Vikings obviously did a QB, and as we just said earlier with JJ McCarthy, really loves using tight ends, and that what does Minnesota have other than arguably one of the best receiving tight ends in the league? They have Justin Jefferson who can use. They have dare I say, a kind of underrated offensive line with Darisaw, Brian O'Neill. They have a good offensive line and a good running scheme with the sort of Shanahan, McVay, outside zone kind of stuff they do. It could be a good fit. It might bust. And obviously, we've got our fingers crossed, touching wood and all that. It does bust, but he could honestly just continue that sort of steady ship for the Vikings on offense while they work that defense out.
I had the 3 firsts that Ant listed out, going to 4 to going to 5. I just kind of don't believe that Arizona want to trade out the pick. I think that they think that that is just going to be more valuable to them to take Harrison than it will be to trade out the pick. Whereas I think that the Chargers will see themselves as a team that needs restocking because of everything they've had to do recently. And, I mean, they've restructured their edge rushers this year. That says nothing to what's going to happen in 12 months' time. So they need the picks. And honestly, I'm not even sure the 2 first they'll get this year, they'll keep them. Although, you know, we'll see what happens later on in this draft for me with them. I just think Chargers are more needy. So that's why I've gone there. But I also think that McCarthy is an incredible fit for Minnesota. Like you said with Hawkinson and Jefferson, I think that works really well. And the offensive line just makes a lot of sense for him. So that, I think it's a better fit for what they will see as a prospect for them that makes more sense than May. But I hear what Anna's saying about May. I just think it's going to go earlier and it's not going to be on the board because I don't think they're going to be able to trade up to 3. But hey, maybe the Patriots surprise me. I'm not sure. Right, Ryan, you're the only one standing pat with the Chargers at number 5, and you've gone in an entirely different direction.
Yep, I've taken Joe Alt. I've got Rashawn Slater. I'm giving them a bookend tackle because for me, it's now or never for Justin Herbert. Another, like say, disappointing year for me. For him, I'm requesting a trade. I am leaving. Like I say, Austin Eckler, he's not been very happy the last few years, has it? Like I say, he's been having to do everything, running his ass off outside the tackles. Like I say, because our offensive line just doesn't help. And like I said, the loss of weapons on the outside, they're going to have to rely on that run game potentially even more this year. I say because if you've got a second-rate receiving cast, so there's a chance, like I said, they'll be holding on to it longer to try and get guys open or handing it off more frequently to like get Eckler to do it more. So yeah, for me, they have to build through the trenches. Like I say, for me, they're going to have to shore up the other side of their offensive line. For me, Alt just makes perfect sense because he's the most complete, well-rounded guy there. And like I said, they've already got Slater. Like I say, get another bookend tackle. Like I say, hopefully they'll do a bit of better job of keeping Herbert not on his ass and healthy. Like I say, he's had a bad hand, hasn't he, for last year? So they really can't afford to pick up any more injuries this season.
Joel is an incredible player, boys. Does anyone not have him tackle 1? I think he's fairly consensus and chalk up there as tackle 1 at the moment. What do you guys make of him, and what about the fit with LA?
So
mean-
yeah, you go first, Ant, because I'm.
No, I was about to say I'll segue this because this segues into the next pick as
okay.
well. So
Okay, yeah, then I'll go then. Love Joe Alt. Don't love the fit with the Chargers because who you moving? Which one's going to go to right tackle? Because for me,
Joe
both
Alt.
Slater and Joe Alt are better at left than they are at right. So it's not like we're a Saul situation where in our scheme, what he does really works with right tackle. One of them's got to move, and I think it's going to, whichever one you move, you're going to have a drop off in their performance because of just that's how they work. So I love Joe Alt. I could see it working, but it probably will be Slater who moves. But Slater he's going to have a drop off in his performance at least next year with it because he's been entrenched at left tackle, and for me, he's a better pass protector than he's a run blocker, so he makes sense on the left.
I'm absolutely with you, Ash. I really just think Joe Alt is a pure left tackle. I actually don't think he's a right tackle. I think that transition would go badly. I mean, he doesn't overwhelm you with power. He's not a mauler, and he doesn't destroy people in the pass game either. When he locks people up, they're done. But he's quite finessey. Like, he's just like a kind of... He's not a jack of all trades because that does him down. He's basically like a master of everything which is really important at left tackle. Like, I think he's going to enter the league and be better than Taylor Decker day 1. I just think he's that good. But I don't want to move Slater or Alt. I think that would be a shame. But could it work? Hell yeah, it could. I mean, quite often you get teams just preaching best player available, and is this a pick which is going to go down well with the new regime at LA? Yeah, it will. Absolutely. You think that it won't? So, I don't know. Maybe not the best fit, but I can see the head coach absolutely loving it. But Ant, you were going to segue into something here with him. If you are still here. Where's he gone? He's dropped off the call momentarily, so I think we've just lost Ant. So I won't spoil what he's done. Instead, we will go back to something which Ash has, which is Joe Walt instead going to the New York Giants at number 6.
Yeah. So I know obviously they drafted Andrew Thomas a couple of years ago, but he's been hit and miss. And with Daniel Jones coming off the ACL surgery and all that, they need to fix their O-line. I know obviously it might be I don't think most people haven't penciled in for Tennessee next because they also need an offensive lineman. But I think the Giants right now, they've kind of sorted out their defense with the Brian Burns trade and that. So they're going to look at their offense. Could they take a wide receiver like Nabers, someone to give another weapon for Jones to throw to? Maybe. But I think for them, they just want to solidify the offensive line, keep him upright, kind of like what Rice said with to pick a go with Herbert. And I think with Thomas, he is more of your sort of mauler, so he could fit better at right tackle, and then and that could work. Is it 100% a fit? No, but it's kind of one of those where they take a good draft approach for once and sort of take the best player available in a kind of position of need.
All right. Ant, we filled in because you just dropped off the call, but you alluded to the fact that you had something to talk about with pick 5 and 6.
Yeah, so I traded again. So my situation with obviously the Cardinals not picking MHJ, he is still on the board. So I had a second trade that I've put in, which is a trade of convenience really for two teams here. So I actually have because the Giants need a wide receiver desperately. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is still there, that is a very tempting target, even to move one position for, because Chargers are in need of one as well. So I have actually the Giants coming up to get him, and they give up 6 and 47 for 5. Now, a second may seem extreme to move up one spot, but the player you're getting, the prize that you're getting for it, and for what they need a receiver like something like, like yesterday. So for me, it's great. They've still got another couple of picks in the top 100 to play with as well. So you've still got flexibility in the draft going forward. But for the Chargers, it gives them a little bit more ammunition for Harbaugh to rebuild his team there. And it gives the Giants a legitimate star name at receiver for them, who will be great for years to come. And to be honest, even if he gets to the end of his rookie deal, he performs as he does, you can't afford to sign him, you're going to get back a lot more than a second for him. So it's a long-term investment for them just to move up and grab the receiver there. And then at 6, which I assume we're on to now, is the Chargers, who have dropped. And I agree with Ryan. Joe Alt is the pick there for the Chargers. Now, yeah, he's played left tackle fine. He's been a tight end in high school. He's been training to play at right tackle. He can do it. I will swear this till I'm dead in the ground. Last year with the Chargers, they need another tackle. Period. No more flashy wide receivers. No more flashy offensive picks in terms of giving Herbert weapons. He's had Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston. Still hasn't worked. Why? They were a bottom 10 run offense last year, and Herbert got his finger broken because he got hit. They couldn't protect him. You've got to fill the void at right tackle, and you pick the generational prospect who is there. Who have they brought in to coach them? Jim Harbaugh. What does Jim Harbaugh do? He runs the ball down your throat. He plays smash mouth, running football first, then passes late. It doesn't matter whether they've got Herbert or not. They need to fix that run game, which is why it's not going to be a receiver they pick there. It's going to be Joel. Herbert's throwing 39 passes a game, the most in NFL history. You can't expose him to that much every single game, every single week. There's a reason they've bought him here. Slater stays at left. You move Alt to the right. Harbaugh himself will have seen what we've done with 2 bookend tackles, and we've moved one across. We've got one of the most fierce offensive lines in the league. It can be done. He's not a scrub who can't just move across. I mean, for some reason, I'm always the one who likes to keep people at position, and you lot keep saying, oh, they're positionally versatile. They can do this and do that. And now all of a sudden, that has changed.
I'm
But
sorry, you seem to have mistaken me for someone else.
you take the best tackle in the draft. He is a generational talent. You take him with Rashawn Slater, you make it work. Jim Harbaugh gets his left and right hand of God to sweep everything before him, implement his run game, and that extra second he's picked up at 47, guess who's going to go there? Blake Corum to be his running back mule, who's going to go there and do his dirty work for him. Jim Harbaugh is going to transfer that Michigan DNA over there. It's going to be a tackle. It's a bit too high for Fuaga at 6. If you're going to do it, just take Alt. Because even then, in 2 years, if you can't afford to pay Rashawn Slater, you move Alt back across. You've got your succession plan. You get a draft haul for Rashawn Slater as well. So I don't think it's stupid. So for me, the Giants and the Chargers work a trade that works great for the pair of them. So yeah, MHJ to New York, Alt to the Chargers.
There, I see it. I see the vision. I like it. It makes sense. Ryan, you have gone in a funky direction as well at 6.
Yep, so I have got Drake May sliding to 6 because the rise of JJ McCarthy. I have the Vikings trading 11, 23 and the second for next year that they got Stephon Diggs to move up with the Giants, and they take Drake May because, like I say, he fits their downfield, vertical, deep splash offense. Like I say, he wants to take strikes. Will he throw some turnovers and odd dodge interception? Absolutely. But will he connect on 65-yard touchdowns like John Nelson, just burning down the field? Absolutely. They are just crying out for a quarterback that has got the nous and the arm to drop it in the bucket of a deep threat that's running us on a 9 route or a go route. Yeah, so yeah. And they won't have to give up that much because, like I said, they're only going up 5 places. Like I said, the Chargers got a lot of needs, but for me, they don't have dying, pressing needs. They just have a lot of them. So they'll happily take this to move back to 11.
Myself and Tom are aligned on this pick to round out number 6, which is Malik Neighbors going to the Giants at number 6, which I think is probably the consensus pick right now. And basically, even though the Giants are making aggressive moves like trading for Brian Burns to make that defense even more fearsome than it is, the team ain't ready to compete. Like, it's just not there yet. And you sticking a quarterback into that regime, are they ready? No, they're not. That offensive line isn't good enough, despite having Andrew Thomas at left tackle being one of the better left tackles in the NFL. They don't have anyone who can catch a ball. Wan'Dale Robinson was underwhelming last year. Jalen Hyatt was not much of anything. Darius Slayton is potentially their best wide receiver, and he is at best a 3. They need a receiver like something rotten, and they need someone who's going to be potentially one of the best players in the NFL. And frankly, Neighbors with Harrison off the board is the next guy up there. Now, he's going to take the top off defenses. He is basically just got a vertical route tree. I don't really trust him going over the middle of the field just yet. There is a lot of development to happen there. But I've never seen anyone run with such urgency that Malik Neighbors can run. I mean, when he streaks over the field, his ability to vary his speed to create separation is fantastic. His top speed and how quickly he gets there is absolutely exceptional. This is up there with JMO as a college prospect, and I might even have Neighbors above JMO as a prospect. I mean, I don't really know what it is to say about him. He's just incredibly sudden, and I mean, he's going to create excitement in that New York area. And I mean, when it comes to quarterback, they've got to take their medicine with Daniel Jones, and you know, if he stays healthy, he can play a bit like as a number 28 starting quarterback in the NFL who can run a bit and pass a bit, but he needs to play out this year before they junk him and then maybe take their next quarterback next year. And I think Neighbors doesn't really raise the ceiling of who they can be as a team, and so it doesn't really threaten their succession plan. And if it all goes to crap and they have to bring in Drew Lock, I actually quite like Drew Lock and Malik Neighbors as a combination. I think that could work. So I think this is just taking the best player available on their board, given their needs and given who else is available. But of course, everyone at pick 7 is going elsewhere. So does anyone want to weigh in at Malik Neighbours on this point, or do we want to wait until you guys pick him a bit later on? We'll wait. Okay. We'll go to Ant for pick number 7. And Ant, you have gone for the offensive line for Tennessee, which feels like the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, so I've gone for Olu Fashanu here. So obviously Joe Alt is off the board at this point, but just to put it very simply, like the Titans need a tackle. You know, like a frat guy needs alcohol. They need it. It's they just don't have it. So you look at their depth chart. It is what Petit Ferrer, Dylan Reduns, and the ghost of Ebenezer Scrooge. Like that's all they've got. That's all they've got to tackle. They need a guy there, specifically at left tackle. They have a need because Dylan Reduns is all right at right, but Petit Ferrer on the left. You need a left tackle. I don't. Fashanu has suffered the media. Fashanu suffered for some reason. He is a bona fide, high-level, all-pro level left tackle in the NFL, and I don't know why the NFL has gone off him so much. Yes, he should have declared last year, and yes, this year he struggled a little bit, but like, you know, you're the product of the line you're playing on as well. No other Penn State lineman coming to this draft. There's a reason why, but he is a terrific left tackle prospect at the next level. He is like he's one of the guys. He's like that dominating kick-ass mold of offensive lineman that the Tennessee Titans like to draft. He's got the DNA of a Titan, and like he's going to be their left tackle of the future for many years. He's going to be a great player. The Titans need to pick a tackle here. Like it was blatantly obvious that they were struggling last year. You've got to give Will Levis something to work with. If Alt's not there, which they're probably hoping, but the Chargers are going to take him regardless, Fashanu's the next guy up for the spot you want. I believe he's going to go there.
Ash, you have the same pick to the same team, so why don't you speak about Fashanu as well?
I completely agree. Like, yeah, Fashanu has a few more issues than Alt, but still a damn good tackle. And believe I remember rightly, they have brought over the offensive line coach from the Bengals, which doesn't sound that great, but considering he's the dad of the now offensive coordinator, I believe, they've got some chance there. And yeah, like they do need to fix the offensive line to protect whoever's going to be behind there, be it Levis, Malik Willis, that goes to Brian Tannehill, whoever it is, they need protecting. Usually I know Alt is the pick here because he falls to them. Here it didn't happen, so let's just take the next best left tackle for them because yeah, Reduns and Petit Frere can fight it out for right tackle. And then at least whoever comes in left tackle, if they have some rookie struggles, they've got Peter Scroncy next to them. It's a damn good offensive lineman next to them to sort of help ease them in. They have a good guy to play next to. And with Willis and Levis, they have some movement skills as well. So it kind of helps. So yeah, he's not a perfect polished tackle like Alt is, but he's still going to be damn good for them, especially in the run game where they're hopefully going to try and re-establish that despite King Henry going to Baltimore.
Ash alluded to Joe Alt falling to this spot, and myself and Tom are just being the most boring people, I think, in this draft so far by going for Joe Alt at number 7. I mean, like you said before, massively polished prospect. If he's available here, Tennessee run the card up. You know, Brad Holmes style, 30 seconds in, the pick's already in. The NFL guys are going absolutely mad because Nicholas Petit-Frere has been replaced. I mean, you said he can fight it out with Raidens. Raidens is going to kill him. That's not happening. And, I mean, why did it take the Titans this long with a substandard quarterback and the best running back in the league for the best running back in the league to move on before they invested in the offensive line? It feels absolutely atrocious that they did King Henry dirty by not doing this before he had to leave. But never mind. Better late than never, I guess. Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard are going to have absolutely great time back there. And, you know, Hassan Haskins, former Michigan running back, who did pretty well a few years ago, he's going to have a fun time as RB3 as well. But Ryan, to buck the trend, and maybe the biggest surprise of the entire first round, You stayed at the same position, but you are going in a very different direction.
Yeah, I'm going with well, he doesn't think he's a guard, but I'm going with Fartano, Washington, Troy. For me, Tennessee want to run the ball. So for me, I'm beefing up the interior of the offensive line. For me, Ty J. Spears will be running back number one. He's going to need all the help he can get to run between them tackles. And if they're going to run under center, like I say, I need to beef up. I need to work inside out for me on my offensive line. Got Skoronski, like I said, got center. And now, like I say, I'm putting Troy on the other side. And I'm going to make a triangle, a wedge to run behind in the middle. Like I say, they should have done this a long time ago. But like I say, Derek is gone now because he got fed up. Like I said, let's treat the running backs that are coming in now a little bit better. Let's help them run in between the tackles. And hopefully just take less wear and tear. And he will still drop back and he will still help keep Will Levis upright. Like I said, 6'4", 317, he is still able to play pass pro. Now Washington, like I said, they ran the ball when they wanted to with Dylan Johnson just as well as they'd be passing it. Like I said, they showed that they were able to hold up the middle, and he was a smaller back too. So yeah, I think it could be fun to beef up their interior. And then, like I said, just let them see if they can run the ball again. We'll find out if it was the team or if it was all Henry.
I absolutely love it because I think that he is still underrated, Troy Fautanu, in this process. We'll get to him later because I'm sure he must be in all of our first rounds, maybe. We'll see. But we'll come around to pick number 8, and Tom would be the guy to snake here. And he's got the same pick as both Ash and Ryan McCluskey at pick number 8, who have all gone for Alabama's Dallas Turner edge to go to the Falcons. So, Ash, Dallas Turner, player and fit?
So, yeah, like, he is the consensus edge one. He's not my edge one for obvious biased reasons, but Raheem Morris, defensive head coach, defensive guy. They have some pieces in the edge rushing room, but Dallas Turner will just give them that little extra oomph that they need. Because, yeah, it's all well and good having Arnold Epiketti, who is decent-ish. Lorenzo Carter, old, is a good Sam, but that's about it. They don't really have that much else. They just need that little extra push. Epiketti is a really good edge too, next to Turner. They'll be very, very athletic, can get after the quarterbacks. Bryce Young is still gonna probably going up against the Falcons. Everyone else is going to be running that division. It's a sort of trademark, like how we had Saul around this range when Campbell started. This is going to be Morris's sort of like franchise cornerstone that he's going to build around. We've seen what he did with Von Miller a couple of years ago in LA when Morris was just coming into being. I think he was a D-line coach at that point for the Rams after coming in from the Falcons after the infamous firing after stepping in for Quinn a couple of years ago. This could be his version of Von Miller.
Ryan, you've gone the same way.
Oh, this was so easy. Their offense is stacked. For me, their pass rush is weak. Like I said, they've got guys like I'm trying to think. Like I said, they've got guys at safety. So they've got guys on the back end and on the outside. Like I said, they've got guys that are really trusted on there. But for me, like I said, they just lack ability to get to the quarterback on a consistent basis. And they have whiffed on a lot of guys in the past. They have made some bad choices when it's gone to like first round edge rushers in recent years. And yeah, this guy can change all that. Like I say, great. I think he'll be a great selection for them. And if they do take him, honestly, the Falcons are an NFC championship dark contender if they do take Dallas Turner, I think.
So I've gone in a different direction here, and I see Atlanta thinking, there are lots of edges I'm happy with here. And really, there's such good offensive talent on the board that I don't need to pick here. I'm happy to wait. And I see an LA Chargers team who've just picked up 3 first-round picks, thinking, we've just lost our 2 best wide receivers. And so the Chargers go up 3 spots from 11 that they picked up from the Vikings, trade with Atlanta to take Rome Odunze. At the end of the day, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are going to be really hard to replace. But when you have Herbert at quarterback, you're going to have a chance in this league. but not if you've got no one to throw to him to throw at. And, you know, Josh Palmer is their wide receiver 1 right now. Quentin Johnson is their wide receiver 2. And yay for that, because they woefully mismanaged last year. That's not Quentin's fault, but he was overdrafted, and now they have to try and make the best of that decision. They've only got 4 wide receivers on the damn team. They've got as many tight ends as they have wide receivers. Like, they need investment, and they need it high. And if they wait, Odunze is coming off the board because the Chargers will take... the Bears will take him. I know that Ant was talking about needing to go offensive line, but I can't see them resisting the ability to take Odunze. So the Chargers are trying to get ahead of Chicago with the extra capital they've got to fill a massive hole and maybe the best guy remaining on the board for me. And
I feel like I need to file a copyright claim here because I swear down you've taken my magical book and you've taken from this.
Well, so, you've gone for a different team. You've got your 4th trade.
It's the same reason, but yeah. So this is the same logic of thinking for me. But I've had the Cardinals trade with the Vikings to 11, and everyone's, you know, I saw some pushback on this. Why would they give up a generational talent, etc.? Think about value. What are you gonna get? So Marvin Harrison Jr., yeah, great wide receiver. You know, gonna be great for however as long as he wants to be. But he's one man. What against that is 2 first-round picks and Malik Neighbors as the Arizona Cardinals make the same decision because tackles are going. They come up to 8 with the Falcons, who, like Matt said, quite happy to sit, and I think they will be. I'm giving them 66 and 104, so I'm giving them 2 and a 3 just to move up 3 spots. But the beauty of what the Cardinals have, 7 picks in the top 104, 8 with my trade, 3 first-round picks. If they want those picks back, they can trade 1 and get them. Doesn't really matter that you're going to give it up. You come away with Malik Neighbors and 2 extra first-round picks over the next 2 years. That is incredible value for what you're getting. I like Neighbors. I do buy in that he's more of a development prospect than Doomsday's more polished right now. Neighbors, though, if he reaches his ceiling of what he can be, especially in that Cardinals offense, I think he's going to fit seamlessly into what they're about. He's immediately going to be the downfield weapon there. I think he's immediately going to get a lot of usage. He's going to be great. And they're going to have a first this year and a first next year to be able to put with him to keep building this team, because this isn't a Cardinals team that's a couple of pieces short. This is a Cardinals team that needs a lot of work doing onto it. And if things don't go right with Kyler Murray this year, you'll be thanking the GM for that extra first-round pick next year as well, because it might put you in a situation there where you don't have to worry about getting a quarterback. So while Harrison Jr. just screams, yeah, it's an easy pick, great, there are other ways which the Cardinals can do this. They don't just have to go there and get him. There are just as bigger prizes out there. So, yeah, I've got the Cards giving up 66 and 104. And for the Falcons, they will love that because they're both getting what they want again. Falcons get 2 more picks to bolster that team that's going to be competing for the NFC South next year. And the Cardinals get their extra first and they get the second best receiver in this draft. It's a win-win for both of them. So, yeah, I just think it, for me, makes a lot of sense. And I think it's something they could well do.
I like the fact we're on the same page despite it being a different team. It proves that the theory is pretty sound, I think. We're going to snake straight back.
We're both just stupid, but, you know, I think we're both clever, so.
Well, we'll find out. But, Ant, what you have done is I think you've gone a bit heavy on the mock draft simulator because we are about to talk about your fifth trade in the top 9 picks. What have you done?
There were 9 trades in the 2022 draft, sorry. So this is a big one. This is a theory that I've seen floated around a couple of times, and it's a theory that I buy into. The Buffalo Bills are in trouble. Sean McDermott's regime is dying, and like he's had the issues off field with the whole 9/11 comments. The team looks like it's getting further and further away from the Chiefs. And there's no Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis there anymore. There's a massive, massive hole at wide receiver for them. And if he's going to save his job, if the Brandon Beane's going to save his job, they need to give a wide receiver one who can come in straight away and perform for Josh Allen straight away. And only Roma Dunze is left at this point. So I think with the Bears, the Bears need to trade. They've got 4 picks in this draft, and that is it. And then, of course, they're going to spend one on Caleb Williams. So theoretically, they've only got 3 picks. So they're going to want to restock. We know their GM loves to trade and stockpile picks. It's what Ryan Poles does. So I've got the Bills going big here. They give up 28, they give up 60, and they give up 2 and 3 next year to go and get Roma Dunze because he's going to be absolutely critical to this team doing anything because the Jets are going to get better. The Patriots are starting their build again. They could be left in the wilderness beforehand, and McDermott might not be around to see that. I buy that they're going to jump big, and I've seen a lot of analysts also suggest they're going to jump big as well. Chicago's the perfect place for them to trade with. Poles will take a drop down that big for 3 extra picks. He'll restock his piles for this year and next year in one fell swoop. So for me, the Bills are going to come up and they're going to do it. This is McDermott's last chance, or he's fired. And desperate regimes will make bold decisions. And I think, again, Odunze will ball with Josh Allen. He could be an offensive rookie of the year candidate in that system and could potentially help get them over the edge. You can't go into the draft with that wide receiver core, and you can't wait till the 2nd or 3rd rounds to try and find a wide receiver. They're going to struggle otherwise. I love Khalil Shakir. He's not going to be a wide receiver one putting up stupid numbers in a year. Like, this is just not going to happen. So I buy in the Bills are coming and the Bears are going to trade, and it's going to be Roma Dunze to the Bills.
We have Roma Dunze going at 9 as well, but this time via Tom to the Chicago Bears. And Bailey, our resident Chicago Bears fan in the chat, has just said, the dream is a Dunze. So one of us delivered him to you at the very, very least. I hope you're happy with that one. But we're going to go for both Ryan McCluskey and Ash, who went the same position, but with a Dunze on the board for both of you. You've both gone for Malik Neighbors. Ryan, what makes Neighbors the more appealing pick for Chicago over Odunze?
For me, it's reckless abandonment. I think Ryan Poles is gonna swing for the fences here. I think he's gonna go for the home run guy. Like I say, Caleb Williams, like I say, gets the ball out incredibly fast. Won't have to wait for things to develop. Like I say, my Neighbors, like I say, he can torch guys. He can get in behind them, and he's a dirt cool threat. They've got Cole Kmet to do all the short stuff. He's a threat across the middle, like I say, and that does posts and stuff like that. I want a guy that can run the corner ball, like I say, and I want a guy that can go up against defenses and just take it off them and complement DJ Moore on the other side. It just genuinely gives you 2 deep threats to worry about, and that this would be probably my worst nightmare. If they went like Caleb Williams and Malik Neighbors, I think I'd cry.
Ash, what about you? Why Neighbors over Odunze?
Yeah, basically what Roy said. So we all know my theory with wide receiver rooms is to build a basketball squad in inverted commas. So they've got Allen, who's a good route runner. He'd be the slot guy. They've got Moore, who is also a good route runner, but he can he's the X-star receiver. They need their sort of speedy Z, like we've got with JMO. So yeah, they take Neighbors because he's the home run threat. Sets up a pretty decent wide receiver core for the Bears looking for the next couple of years. And then as and when they need to replace bits, if DJ Moore, when he gets his new contract, he wants a lot. If when Keenan Allen eventually, if and when he goes, Neighbors could develop into your sort of wide receiver one, Tyreek Hill style kind of receiver, especially with Williams, if Williams hits his stride. So it's scary. That's just how the board fell, so I had to do it.
All right, I've gone in a different direction to the 4 of you. 4 wide receivers have gone at 9. And, I mean, it really goes back to what Ant said at the very top when they took Caleb Williams. They need to go offensive line. And if you have a look at the investment that the Chicago Bears have made this offseason, yes, they're going quarterback at number 1. But where have they spent money over the last 2 years? It's running back. And really what you want to do to give Caleb Williams the best chance of succeeding is give him a good running game and protect him. And that's going to come from investing in your offensive line. Now, Joe Alt is not on the board, and that would have been the best pick here if you could get him here. He's not here. I'm going to read out the offensive line now because I think people are thinking are worse than it is. The offensive line is borderline okay to good. Braxton Jones at left tackle, Tevin Jenkins at left guard, Coleman Shelton, I am not aware of who that person is, at centre, Nate Davis at right guard, Darnell Wright at right tackle. Between Tevin Jenkins at left guard being one of the best left guards in the NFL for me, I think he's actually been really good when he's been healthy. Nate Davis was good, and I think he can be good, but obviously he's had his problems since he came over to the Bears. And Darnell Wright at right tackle, I actually think has been pretty good. I think Braxton Jones is better than his draft position would say he would have been. That is not to say he is an upper tier left tackle. He's not. Now, I'm going to pick the best offensive lineman on the board here. I'm going to pick the guy who I think has the best ceiling at offensive tackle in the entire class. I don't think Joe Alt is going to get better than he is right now. But I think he's going to be a top 10 tackle in the NFL day one. So that's not saying much. But this person, I think, is going to elevate the room instantly. He's going to come in at right tackle. And he's going to push Darnell Wright over to left. Darnell Wright, who I said did very well last year, had 13 starts at left tackle in his college career. So he's not unfamiliar with the position. I think he'd be fine there. Not perfect, but yes. And I'm going to annoy a lot of people by taking Talise Fuanga, at pick number 9 for Chicago. They want to run the ball. Fuanga is the guy to do it. I think it's an absolutely perfect match. And him, along with Nate Davis at right guard, I think that's going to be pretty exciting, especially for someone like DeAndre Swift, like Khalil Herbert, like Roschon Johnson. You want to give Williams a chance. Let's get Swift getting 1,000 yards a season. Fuanga is the guy to do it.
Poor Shelton. Who is this guy?
I nearly died of mid when you read out that offensive line. Mid nearly killed me.
I mean,
if you're gonna take Fuanga, you put him at right guard. That's what they'll do. You're not gonna move from right tackle. Like they will move him inside. Nate Davis is mid now. Like that will probably be dangerous if they move Fuanga to right guard, but
yeah. All right. Pick number 10. And would you believe it? 3 of us are aligned for the Jets. And it is the popular pick. It's me, Tom, and Ant. So, Ant, I'm coming to you for this one. The New York Jets, they've traded for their quarterback. Their window might be 1 season. And so what do? Anthony Fitzpatrick, what do they do here?
They give Aaron Rodgers the most versatile weapon on offense in this draft. They give him Brock Bowers. And I believe they do this because people will go, there's a need on offensive line there. You don't bring in Tyrion Smith and Morgan Moses if you're going to draft a tackle so high. Like you've covered your tackle positions for at least 1 year for a reason, as you've said. That's the Aaron Rodgers window these tackles are on. You're not then going to draft a tackle to sit behind them and not do anything. I mean, like they've got nobody in their tight end room whatsoever for 1, but 2, they do need help at receiver, but Bowers is a receiver. He is, like, you can line him up on the outside if you wish to use him as a receiver. You can use him to help with the run game on the edge as a blocking tight end. He is a mismatch, a difference maker. And in that conference, I think, that division, I think he'll feast. Like, Aaron Rodgers will absolutely love him. It gives him a big new weapon there. This is... And to be honest, even when Aaron Rodgers' window shuts, Brock Bowers is going to be there for a decade and is going to absolutely dominate. They're not going to have to worry about the tight end position again for a long time if he stays healthy. So, yeah, I know it's the popular pick, but looking at who they've brought in would lead me to believe they're going for a weapon for Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to protect him because they've done that in free agency. I think Bowers is going to be amazing there if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy.
And just for my own part, I mean, the other thing that I think that it's underrated that he can do is actually carry the ball out of the backfield. You know, I know that they've got Breece Hall, I know that they've got Abanikanda, but being able to run him out there, motion him into the backfield, and then either have him being a lead blocker and split back, or actually just carrying the ball himself, he was fantastic at Georgia doing that, and versatile weapon. I mean, terrifically undersized. Right, for tight end, I mean, 235 or something. Like, he doesn't really look like a tight end, but his blocking is better than his height. I won't say that he's a good blocker, though, because I don't think he is a good blocking tight end, but he definitely shows willing. Like, he's aggressive, he engages with heart. I do think that the NFL edges will give him trouble, potentially. It will be an adjustment period for him, but he's like your best slot receiver and tight end all rolled into one. So, yeah, Rodgers will love him. Rodgers will make him look like a star. And, I mean, Rodgers' tight end history is full of mid. This could provide him with the best weapon he's ever had at that position.
He made Robert Tonyan look good.
Exactly.
Like, Jesus Christ. What's he going to do with an actually talented tight end?
I mean, the first touchdown that Aaron Rodgers ever threw to a first-round pick was to a first-round pick at tight end. So.
I mean, he's made Mercedes Lewis like a Green Bay icon, and all Mercedes Lewis does is block. But he'll get the odd touchdowns there with him, and they'll use him. He loves tight end. Like, this will be the best tight end he's ever had in his life. But like the Jets are all in now, so if you're gonna go all in, do it properly.
Ryan, I kind of feel like your pick at this position is the Jets looking back at last season and thinking, well, once burnt and twice shy.
For me, I look at this. I've gone to Lisa Fuaga. For me, at best, Morgan Moses, Tyron Smith, 1 year stopgap plasters. At worst, one of them, like I said, Tyron Smith, I don't think he's all that anymore. Picks up injuries. One of them will miss time this year. Right, so for me, I'm thinking past Aaron Rodgers. I'm thinking this time next year, Breece Hall is winning the rushing title because Talise Fuaga is an absolute monster. Right, so, and I reckon he could win. I think he could beat one of them out halfway through the year. I generally think he could step in and do what they're doing. Those two are slowing down. Tyron Smith especially, I say he plays with knee braces, elbow braces. The guy is held together with sticky tape and paper mache. I just don't trust him all year. I don't trust both of them all season to keep Aaron Rodgers upright. And for me, you're probably looking at Rodgers' last good year, maybe his last year altogether. So like I said, I'm getting the tackle now for the new quarterback they might need in a year. Yeah, I get right. It's not a necessity. And I think the Brock Bowers pick actually be super fun to watch. Like I say, I actually think that'd be quite exciting. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Robert Saleh, I don't know how much of a risk taker he is.
Ash, you were thinking along a similar direction to Ryan.
Yep. So, but I didn't go for Fuaga. I went for the guy out of Washington. Words. I can't pronounce them right now. Troy Fanato, of course.
Fautanu.
Exactly. I see. This is why
you sounded like a character from Shooting Stars, then, Ant. Fautanu.
Yeah. It is Fautanu.
But yeah,
I think about it.
That's why I
picked Will McDonald, which was a horrible pick. Actually, you don't have a clue what he's doing, Robert Saleh, does it? That was a horrendous.
No, exactly. Especially when he had one of the best young edges in that edge room already.
Oh, shut up.
JJ's too much. Hammer it in. But my thinking is very similar to Ryan's, except for me, start at left guard because he does have. I believe he could at least learn there while he's next to Tyron Smith, because that's the hole in that Jets offensive line. Smith, as you say, good plaster at left tackle, and then you can slide Fatano out to left tackle if and when Smith falls to pieces. But at least you can sort of slide him into that left guard position, because right now they've got John Simpson there, Xavier Newman, Vitaly Gurman. Who are these people? Like everywhere else, they've at least got someone who's like starting capable. Tyron Smith, obviously. At center, Joe Tippmann, former Wisconsin center. Elijah Vera Tucker at right guard, and then Morgan Moses at right tackle. The Jets like these sort of tackle versatile guards, it seems, because obviously Vera Tucker can play right tackle if you need him to. So it'll just hold up that offensive line. And yet, if one of the tackles goes down, you can slide the guard out, put John Simpson in, because he's a good like sort of swing guard, kind of like how Graham was supposed to be for us last year, except for Graham actually outperformed that. Just to hold up that offensive line for Aaron Rodgers for like one last attempt at a farewell with the new Jets uniforms that look kind of decent. And then, whoever they get in next year at QB, be it a potential guy they could draft in day 3, stash, and then could trot out a potential Heisman winner from last year if he didn't break his leg horrifically, could come in and absolutely wow the country next season. So for me, it was offensive. It was always going to be offensive line. Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, good guys, but still need to shore it up because, as we learned last year, and as they learned last year with all their injuries, you can never have too many offensive linemen.
All right, we come into pick 11, and because that was Minnesota's pick, and we have them trading all over the shop, this is the first pick, I think, where we are all different, which is quite fun. For Tom Wilkinson, he has gone with the Chargers, who have traded with Minnesota for pick number 5. They've come back to 11, and they're picking up J.C. Latham. Earliest we see him go, I think. For myself, it's still the Chargers on the board. But for me, the Chargers are a really interesting team because I have... Chargers? No, the Chargers traded up to 8. So now we have the Atlanta Falcons. I'll get this right eventually. We have the Atlanta Falcons on the board. And it's a really interesting team because you guys, when you were talking about the Falcons taking a player, went edge. I still have Dallas Turner on the board. And you talked about how good that DB room is. I'm not a Clark Phillips guy. I don't think he's fantastic. But what I do think is that they're going to absolutely love Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, the cornerback. Now, maybe you guys are right, the edge is a bigger need, but when I have a look at Terrion Arnold versus Dallas Turner, I think Arnold is a better prospect. So if you have a look at the other guys they have back there, even in terms of just building depth, the backup corners they have, D. Alford, Mike Hughes, formerly of the Lions, they could do with a corner 3. So when you have a look at the team, I think they're building on potentially a strength in the DB room. I think this actually is an immediate starter. I think he pushes Clark Phillips back down to CB3. I think it makes all the sense in the world. And of course, the majority of teams play nickel anyway, in which case you're getting 3 terrific guys on the field. So I think this makes the Falcons one of the better DB secondary rooms in the country. Building on a strength. Ash, you have the Chargers on the board after the trade down from 5, and you've gone in a different direction entirely for the Chargers.
Yeah, I believe I've gone for the pick that quite a few of us on this show have been slotting in for a while, especially with the trade down with the Vikings. What have I said earlier with our sort of arguments about Joe Alt versus Rashawn Slater? Slater's good at left tackle. We stick him there. So this position, luckily for the Chargers, the best right tackle in the class falls to them in Fuanga. Slide him in. Got bookend tackles, as we said. And then, when Blake Corum is drafted in the second round, he's going to be some feast. Plain and simple.
I like it. Right. Ryan, for you, Minnesota traded up with the Giants, and so the Giants are now on the clock. So what do the Giants need?
Easy. They've not had a 1,000-yard receiver since OBJ in 2018. And Daniel Jones, for me, has got a noodle arm. I give him the best contested catch receiver on the board, Rome Odunze. He's physical. He's great in short distances. He's physical. He catches with his hands, not his body, and boxes guys out. Yep. And he instantly makes half of those bums on that team look better. He'll be the best thing they've had since, like, say, that expensive paperweight Kenny Gordy. Easily.
Ouch. My Golladay jersey hurts. And to round us up at pick number 11, you have Atlanta on the board after trading back with Arizona. No, that's not right. Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is right.
Yeah.
So
My pick is Atlanta via Arizona via Minnesota at this point.
and
so it's been traded.
And so you actually are going with what
I've made the
Ryan and Ash
sensible
did
pick.
at pick number 8.
I've made the sensible pick. So we talk about trades and how they work for both teams. In the Cardinals' case, giving up a couple of picks, but they've gone up, got the receiver. They've got higher draft capital to work with if they want to recoup it. The Falcons, they get a couple of day 2 picks, and what do they get for it? The same player they would have drafted at pick 8 anyhow, because he's still on the board, because none of the other edge teams have been up just yet. Dallas Turner goes to the Falcons. Meanwhile, they get another round 2 and round 3 pick. They are loading up with Kirk Cousins. They are loading up for the next few years to go and win the big one. If you walk out with Dallas Turner and a couple of extra draft picks, then that is the perfect way to get started about it. Like, I agree with the other guys. Dallas is big need for them. He will come in. He will perform really well. They need more pressure on the quarterback, like desperately, like a hole in the head. And Dallas is the best guy in the draft. They get him and picks. They walk away unbelievably happy when this is said and done.
And we're coming straight back to you at pick number 12. And I do think, personally, in Denver at pick 12, we're talking about a team which is potentially the most ripe in the entire first round for a trade down with no quality of any kind at almost any position, with no picks of any kind at almost any spot in the draft. They are absolutely desperate, surely, to get out of 12.
Yeah, you know it. And my, it's been a couple of picks since I had a trade, so we need to get the trades going back again. I think this is like number 5 or 6 by now. But
commitment to the bit, I love it.
So I don't buy that. Denver don't have the assets to go up for a quarterback. Like, they just don't. There's no second this year. There's no second next year, I'm pretty sure, as well. They don't have the ammunition to go against Minnesota to get one of the big guys. They ain't going to stand pat and take Bo Nix either. Like, that's just not going to happen. Sean Payton isn't going to settle for a second-rate quarterback. Like, he needs to get his first quarterback appointment right. So I agree. They're going to go backwards, try and rescue some capital. And actually, I have the LA Rams coming up from 19 to be their dance partner here. So they give up 19, 52, and a throwaway pick at 209 just to sweeten the pot a little bit for number 12. That gives Denver their second round pick back, gives them a chance to be able to do a little bit more in this draft. And for the Rams, well, I can't remember if it was on the show the other day talking about, they have invested a lot on their interior offensive line. They've paid Jonah Jackson, they've paid Kevin Dotson, they drafted Steve Avila. They have used a lot of resources on it, but they've got no tackles. And in this situation, they get aggressive because they're going to come and keep a guy on the West Coast and not let him get away. Talisi Fuanga fits perfectly in the Rams' scheme, playing that West Coast offense style football. He will slot right in as a guy who's going to protect Stafford, and he's going to help them to run the ball better, because they've also had their issues trying to run the football as well. But the Rams are all in at this point. You saw last year, they are a good team. They are spending a lot of money. They want it this year, and they need someone who's going to come in and combat the 49ers. That 49ers D-line is nasty. You think of all the guys on there, you've got to get the nastiest, most brutal, aggressive offensive lineman to counter that. Fuanga is that. That right tackle spot, you put him up against Bosa, you put him up against any of these guys, he'll go toe-for-toe. He'll pancake them. He will carve out routes for them for that run game to be able to work. It's going to cost you a tiny bit, but I think if you're trying to make that offensive line complete, you've got to go for a tackle this year, and you can't sit and wait for other teams in the mid-teens to take them all off the board. I think Fuanga's going to slip a little. He should be the second tackle off in this draft. He's not, because he's a right tackle, and it's just going to affect his stock, unfortunately. Rams do really well here to go up, and they get 4/5 of their line sorted, and Denver get the second back to just be able to recover a little bit from what's gone on. They are not picking there.
Ryan and Ash, I feel like you were in cahoots with your picks because even if they're slightly different picks, they're very similar positions at very similar teams, and you guys are exactly the same here at pick number 12 for Denver, with what I can only surmise is an absolutely horrendous decision, but you think they're going to do it. So, Ryan, why have you done this to them?
You mean, why have I done this to him? Sean Payton, one of the biggest bell ends in the league. I can't stand him. I'm sorry, Bo Nix. But I don't know. I just feel like Bo Nix, he might be the biggest surprise of the whole draft. You don't go through college being the most experienced college quarterbacks, one of the most experienced college quarterbacks of all time. Like 65 games played, like minimal injuries. Commanded a powerful offense for many years. And it's not like he's short of weapons. Like I said, Cortland Sutton, if he gets a new deal, Greg Dulcich. Like I said, they'll probably draft some receivers too. Like I said, there's a few pieces in Denver. Like I said, and there's very little pressure on him as a player. I mean, like I said, if this doesn't pan out for him, then someone else will give him a go later on. Like I said, if Sean Payton gave him away, or like just throws him under a bus like he does with people. But yeah, the Denver fans, they need to get that Russell Wilson taste out of their mouth. I feel like Bo Nix could be that Listerine that could just take all the bad memories away. It's going to be a long-term play, but I don't know. He could get thrust into a starting role really quickly.
I mean, Ash, surely Jarrett Stidham is quarterback one in Denver.
You'd think, wouldn't you? Well, it's either him or Ben DiNucci, the absolute savior for the Cowboys a couple of years ago. But for me, I do agree. It is a reach. It definitely is a reach to take Nix here, and it is quarter condemning him. But you look at Denver's picks, as you quite rightly pointed out a couple of minutes ago, with obviously Ant doing the trade. They don't have that many picks. They're picking here at 12. Their next pick is at 76. That's a big gap. They're not going to be able to trade up from 76 unless they give up basically all of their picks, like the 120s to 140s. Even then, they can probably come up to like 50, 45. That's probably not going to be enough to get a QB. And I don't think many veteran QBs are wanting to go there. So they have to stay put, absolutely reach, and they take argument. It is close between him and Penix. It really will be a what do they like more? But yeah, as Roy said, Bo Nix is probably the better of the sort of in terms of the injuries in that, and behind the offensive line, which has got some good pieces on there, but that center position, Luke Wattenberg, even I don't know him. Obviously, we signed Sam Mustafa, but he's a backup kind of guy. You need someone that's a bit stout and can put up the stuff, especially if that, especially against some of the pass rushers are going to be up against in that division. So yeah, Bo Nix.
I'm leaving myself till last. Tom has taken my edge one for Denver. They've gone with UCLA's Laiatu Latu here. I mean, if injury be damned, he'd be right up there. I still believe that. And so if he clears medicals, I think a team is going to take a chance on him. And Denver are just so devoid of talent that if they think he's the best player on the board, I can absolutely see that pick being made. For myself, has anyone seen my pick? No. Okay. So I was saying before to prime up Ant really that, you know, Denver's a prime trade down candidate for a multitude of reasons. And I think a team is going to look at this position and think, I can get a top 10 pick at 12 in a position of need, a team that, you know, really thinks they should be competing for the Super Bowl next year. A team that has had one of their starting cornerbacks be shipped off, unfortunately, because he managed to get himself embroiled in a domestic violence scenario. And the Detroit Lions trade up to 12, giving up 2 seconds and a third and 29 to move up to 12 to take Quinyon Mitchell. And I did this before Eric Schlitt mentioned it on his damn podcast. Sorry, Eric, love you. But Quinion Mitchell, and you guys know, if you've been following the show for some time, you guys know that I've been calling Quinion Mitchell a top 10 pick since before he was a first round pick. He's the best corner in the class for me, and I know that I put Terry and Arnold at 11 to Atlanta. I don't care. I think that the league are going to regard Arnold as better, but I think Quinion's going to be the guy. I love Amik Robertson from the tape that I've seen of him. I think he's going to be a great player off the bench. I don't think we can start him. I think we'll get picked on. Amik at 5'9", it's going to be tough for him, especially if he's going to be going up against Jefferson and DJ Moore and, all of these guys. I just don't see Amik being a guy that we can go, oh, we're comfortable with this. We are very much in our window. And I think giving up 2 seconds, a first, and probably a later round pick as well, is a bit rich. However, I just think the value here is too good for a player that I think is going to be one of the best guys in the NFL day one. I think even though he hasn't played a lot of press man in his college career, he showed at the Senior Bowl that he's absolutely fine doing it. But one of the best guys in off man, being able to track people, aggressive, great timing, good ball skills, good ball production. I know he played at Toledo. We're keeping him around local. But Detroit make a big, big statement that they are still the people to beat in the NFC North.
I'd help you. God help you if that happens.
I
Actually, no, 'cause
respectfully
we're both-
disagree.
I knew you would. Tom for the Raiders takes Terry and Arnold, who comes off the board here. For myself, for Vegas, I just think they need offensive line help like hell. I mean, yeah, they need a quarterback, but they need everything. They need to tear it down, frankly. Like, they're just... If they get good, they'll be in purgatory. They're already in the point where they just need to go, you know what? Let's redo this. Devontae Adams should be on the block. I don't understand why this hasn't happened already. Just accept that you're bad and take the best offensive lineman on the board, which is Troy Fautanu at this point. He's already gone in 2 mocks higher than this. So I thought I was taking him early, but apparently not. Ash, 13 to the Raiders. You've taken Quinion Mitchell.
Yep. Because for me, my early bow back on your pick earlier was going to be that I think you can start Amik on the outside. We have the perfect guy to teach him how to do that in AG, who was also 5'9" and did well, because he's not going to be going up against DJ Moores and that. But that's by the by. That's for later. Looking at that Raiders cornerback room, especially since they lost to Amik Robinson, Jacorin Bennett, we did like him, but he's not the best. Jack Jones, again, good corner, not really a cornerback one. Nate Hobbs, decent nickel guy, but you're not going to move him outside. And then it's just a whole load of nothing behind them. They need a cornerback one. So why not take the cornerback one in the class for me as well? Quinion Mitchell.
Ryan, you've got a 4th different pick for the Raiders.
This is easy, yeah. Blow it up, tear it down. Antonio Pierce, build the trenches. Start your all line because you're not ready to put anyone behind it. All fashion, just give them an absolute monster on the interior. Like I said, they are not ready to go for any position outside of that for me yet because they are so far away. And I think, like I say, yeah, just get both sides of the line right before they have to worry about anything else right now, I think.
And actually, you were similar to Tom.
Yeah. So I have no belief that they're going to go quarterback. I don't think they're going to do it. Like, I think they're in a rebuild. They're going to take time to do it. And for me, I really like Antonio Pierce. I don't want him to attach himself to a second-rate quarterback as he's starting there. I disagree. If you're going to build in the AFC West, I think you have to start building in your secondary first because you're playing Patrick Mahomes, you're playing Justin Herbert. Eventually, Sean Payton's going to find a pocket passer to start bombing you with as well. You need to build up your secondary and you need to make it really talented. And there's a lack of talent in that secondary at the moment. So whilst you've not got your QB, whilst you're rebuilding, go after the secondary. I've got Terry and Arnold going here. I just believe right now he's the better fit for them. I mean, it's close as to who's the best quarterback, etc. But you know, he's highly athletic. He's great in coverage. He's going to be a really disruptive playmaker at the next level. And I feel against the level of competition he's going to go up against, he's the one who's going to thrive the best in that system. So start your rebuild in your secondary. Get the guys who are going to shut Mahomes and Herbert out for years to come, whilst you sort your other needs out in later drafts.
Coming back to you for New Orleans at 14.
Yeah, so if this was a new regime, or should I say if this was a smart regime, they'd trade back. They've only got 2 picks in the top 150. Like, they have nothing in this year's draft, and that team is full of holes. Their cap is screwed, the team is poor, Ramchik's basically broken, which is creating a massive hole on that offensive line that they're not going to recover from easily. And, you know, you're not playing for next year. You need, and I said this for years now, to hit the reset button in New Orleans and trade. But I'm not going to do that because I've traded enough already. But I think, again, the hierarchy in New Orleans is stupid. They're going to convince themselves that they can compete with Derek Carr, and they're going to use this pick, which they should be trading, and they're going to use it to fill that Ramchick hole up. So they're going to take J.C. Latham at this point because, like, there were other guys I had in here. I had Fautanu here as well, and I was thinking about it, but they also have a problem at left tackle with Trevor Penning. You kind of need a guy who you don't know whether he's going to play left tackle, right tackle. You need a guy who can do both. Now, J.C. Latham's played right at Alabama for the most part, but he can play left as well. And I think he offers them the best potential problem solving at both positions, depending on which one is the bigger issue going forward. If Ramchick comes back after this year, they can switch him across and kick Penning out the team, or etc., or do what they need to. So they've got to go offensive line. They've got to get a guy who can settle in potentially as the left tackle of the future if Penning fails and replace Ramchick. J.C. Latham for me is the guy who does that. But I reiterate, if they were smart in New Orleans, there is no chance they would pick here. They've got a ton of day 3 picks, but they ain't going to be able to get very far with them. You've got to trade and get capital. I think the Lions could do business here, but not this time.
Ryan, you've gone exactly the same way.
Yep. Ryan Ramchick, I don't think he'll even see the season out. I think he'll retire mid-season. That knee, he said, it ain't good. And Trevor Penning so far, he's a bust. And we saw Bruce Irvin last year absolutely destroy Derek Carr. Left him in a matchbox. You can't. That happens again this year. It's over. Like I say, yeah. Just get Latham. Just get a tackle. Whether that's for this front office, a next front office, a quarterback 3 years down the line, it doesn't matter. Like I say, they're falling apart at the seams for the Saints.
Ash, you've done the same thing.
Yeah, I watched a bit of the WrestleMania last weekend with some of my friends, and none of the moves I saw there was good as that spear move that Bruce Irvin did on Derek Carr. Completely agree. They need offensive line. And yeah, if and as I said earlier with Fantano, start him at your guard position, and then if and when Ramchick falls apart, slide him out to right tackle. Nice and simple.
All right, I am up, and I've made the same pick as Tom here. Now, I know that they have a problem at right tackle and left tackle, so I just thought I'd take the best guy on the board. And I'm guessing that Tom has done exactly the same because we've both gone for Olu Fashanu here, stopping his slide. I agree with you guys, especially with Ant saying that his fall is unwarranted, and yet I think that teams are going to buy into it a little bit. I mean, he hasn't really progressed since almost 2 years ago. He is always the guy he has been in college, and the lack of progression is the thing that maybe worries me with him, because he's going to come in and he's going to be a great pass blocker. There's absolutely no doubt. Run blocking is just, he's never progressed with it, and it's always been the issue, and he's known it, and he's not got better at it yet, and that worries me a little bit. But he's going to come in, Saints need to protect Carr. This is the end of Penning's NFL career. He'll go and be a backup after this. He's just not got the chops for it. They replace him with a guy who's much better. They've still got to work it out at right tackle. I've no idea what they're going to do. I mean, to put it into perspective, the backup to Ramczyk, according to ESPN, at right tackle, is Tommy Kramer, the former Lions right guard. So, holy shit, they're in trouble. But, you know, it just goes to show how much these guys need to tackle.
They shouldn't pick there. Like, it's gross negligence to pick at that spot for them.
I agree. They should trade out 100%.
But they kept Dennis Allen and they'll be stupid.
Tom has picked Quinyon Mitchell at pick 15 for Indianapolis. I really like that fit. For myself, I've also gone for a similar position, but I've picked a guy who I think is a top 10 talent who slips for 15. A lot of people think that this guy's going to go 29 to the Lions. I think he's one of the best corner prospects that we've seen in some time, but some people think he's a safety. Cooper DeJean goes here at 15 to the Indianapolis Colts. Ash, you've also gone for DB.
Yeah, because let's play a fun game. Can you name one of the starting outside corners for the Indianapolis Colts right now, according to their depth chart? Have fun, because it's a lot of nothing.
I am struggling.
Juju Brent, who they took.
Didn't they draft Nick Cross? Is he there?
Oh, Julius
Yeah,
Brent.
Nick Cross is Cross is probably the starting three safety. Like honestly, their safety room is good. It's Nick Cross, Julian Blackmon, and then Daniel Scott behind them. That's good. Corner room, Juju Brent, who they drafted last year, Dallas Flowers, then a whole lot of nobody like Darnell Baker Jr., Amir Speed, Jalen Jones. These all special teamers. They need another DB, so I give them my cornerback 2 in the class with Terry and Arnold, because I think he's a good fit there for the sort of like Seattle free scheme that they still kind of run, even though it's dying out in the league. Gus Bradley's a proponent of that, so he'll slide right into that cornerback 1 spot, and then everyone move down 1. They'll still get burnt alive on that second corner spot, kind of like we've been used to for ages, but at least it means they can hold one receiver to a bit in check.
Ryan, you've done something which I think is absolutely egregious, and actually maybe of all of the picks that we've got here, maybe the most realistic because of who the general manager is in Indianapolis.
Yep. I said, I've got Jared Verse. Because ultimately, you've got to chase down Will Levis, CJ Stroud, and Trevor Lawrence. And the Colts, for me, have had a long, rich history of pass rushers. And right now, I look at that team and I think, I say Leonard's gone. I look at that and I see a lack of pass rush. So let's go get maybe the best, well-rounded pass rusher in the game. That's also very good in run support. Because let's say Houston, let's go just throw a load of money at running. Like I say Jacksonville, like I said, they've got Etienne. Like I say Tennessee want to run the ball. And Jared Verse can help inside against the run. Which makes too much sense.
I love it. Match him up with Quitty Pay. I think that makes a lot of sense. And you also did what Tom did.
Yeah. So, like, the Mitchell people won't like this. The Mitchell to Detroit people, but when you look at players and do they scream a team, like Quinyon Mitchell screams Indianapolis Colt. Like, he is the exact epitome of the kind of player they draft. Like, as a corner, he hits like a running back. He soars like an eagle when he's going up in the air for the ball. He's taken the hard route through the group of 5. He's a scrapper. Like, this is the kind of guy they use draft picks on. Like, I just look at him and it's like, yeah, I can see him there. They need a cornerback 1 desperate. Ash has surmised it great already. Like, they need a corner. They need it. Like, they've got, they need it tomorrow. Quinyon Mitchell will be an Indianapolis Colt when this is done, I believe.
And coming around back to you at pick 16 for Seattle, where are you going with this one?
So they need offensive line help as well, and this is one of the ones that we did. Oh no, we didn't do it the other way, but we spoke about it. Troy Fautanu from Washington, I believe, goes to the Seahawks. The Seahawks have big pressing needs on the interior offensive line and the edge. And it just so happens the local collegiate team is producing both at positions in the draft where they're going to be picking. I'm not saying you should go with just the hometown guys, but the OC in Seattle now is Ryan Grubb, who was the Washington offensive coordinator last year, who has worked with Fautanu, who has helped develop Fautanu, and I know he plays at tackle, but you can kick him into guard as well. They need guards, they need centers, they need help on that line. And if Abraham Lucas doesn't turn into the player they think he's going to be, you've then got your replacement to come out and then take over from him right away. But he is the hometown kid at a massive position of need. And, I think this is where they're going to go because, again, people say Seattle, they've got a lot of other needs, but Mike McDonald, where's he come from? Since 2014, he's worked every single year with a Harbaugh, be it at Baltimore, be it at Michigan. He's worked with them both. And what did we talk about with the Chargers earlier and how they're going to go about things? You have got to implement your run game first. I know he's a defensive guy, but Seattle had the 5th least rushing yards in the NFL last year. When you have an average quarterback at the helm, which is what Geno Smith is, he's average, which is not an insult. You've got to have a better run game than 5th worst in the league to be able to make your offense function properly. It is a problem they need to fix. And where he's coming from, that is the thing they preach the most. Running the football, strong, dominant offensive line, get the rock moving that way. I think he's going to take a trick out of his old boss's books and start on that instantly. And it just so helps that the local hometown kid is there for them to pick. So Fautano to the Seahawks. Again, one of the best fits for me of anybody in this first round.
Tom is in cahoots with you for the 2nd straight pick, who also goes Troy Fautanu. I'm amazed that this guy's lasted this long, Ryan, but Seattle go in a different direction for you.
Yep. Name the last good Seattle Seahawks tight end. Jimmy Graham. He was a star, wasn't he? Will Disley, average, being and gone. Tyler Lockett, probably got not long left in the league.
What's wrong with Noah Fant?
Oh, God. He was just a crappy trade. Like I said, Tyler Lockett was long. Mike McDonald, who did he just get to work with who against in practice every year? Like I said, Mark Andrews. Why not have your own Mark Andrews on your side of the ball? Because Will Disley now in charge. Brock Bowers to Seattle. He can be the new, better Jimmy Graham. They have lacked tight end weapons for many, many a year for me.
Ash, you are taking a player who a lot of people are split on, who some people think is going top half of the first round, as you have just about. Some people think is going in round 2.
He should not be going in round 2, and I know you agree with me. I'm taking who is arguably the top interior guy because I agree. Seattle need to fix the O-line, but I think that right now their tackles are okay. If Lucas is work out this year, about to come back, but right now in that interior, they have a whole lot of nothing, a lot of unproven nothing. So let's take the best interior guy in the draft, and someone that I know me and Matt are very high on. The O-lineman out of Duke, Graham Barton. He'll slide right in, be it one of the guard spots, center. He'll be able to upgrade the offensive line pretty much straight away, day one, snap one. No questions about it.
All right, for myself, Ant said it at the top of his explanation. They need either offensive line or they need edge. And Boye Mafe, I think, has been someone who was taken as a bit of a flyer in the 2nd round and has come really good. But I don't really believe in Uchenna Nwosu. Not yet, anyway. I think they can do better. They've taken Derek Hall recently. I think they can do better. And somehow this guy has lasted this long. I know that he's your guys, generally speaking, edge 1. He's not for me, but he's a damn good player in Alabama's Dallas Turner. We've talked about him already, so I won't go on any further than this. But pairing up Mafe with Turner gives Seattle a really good front 5 in their base 3-4 with Jaron Reed, Leonard Williams, Draymond Jones, Boye Mafe and him. That's going to give some nightmares to some of the NFC West teams. Should we recap after the first half of the first round? So, And your draft so far: Caleb Williams to Chicago, Jaden Daniels to Washington, JJ McCarthy to New England, Drake May goes to Minnesota, trading up to 4 with Arizona. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Giants in a trade up with the Chargers, who drop down to 6 and take Joe Alt. Oli Fashanu goes to Tennessee at 7. Malik Neighbors in a trade goes to Arizona at 8. Buffalo go all the way up from 28 to 9 with Chicago, and they take Rome Odunze. Brock Bowers goes to the Jets at 10. Dallas Turner to Atlanta at 11. Fuanga to the Rams in another trade up from 19 to 12 with Denver to the Rams. Terrion Arnold to Vegas at 13. JC Latham to Saints at 14. Quinion Mitchell to the Colts at 15. And Fautanu to the Seahawks at 16. You haven't had any trades in the last 4 picks, Ant, so I hope you pick it up because you're slacking. Ryan McCluskey, your first half of the first round, you also have Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels 1, 2, and JJ McCarthy at 3. You've stood pat at 4 with Arizona. They've taken Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe Alt at 5 to the Chargers, Drake May to Minnesota in a trade up at 6, Fautanu to Tennessee at 7, Dallas Turner at 8 to the Falcons, Neighbors at 9 to Chicago, Fuanga to the Jets at 10, Rome Odunze to the Giants in the trade down with Minnesota at 11, Bo Nix at 12 to Denver, Fashanu at 13 to Vegas, Latham at 14 to the Saints, Verse at 15 to the Colts, and 16, Seattle. Maybe you get the steal of the draft so far with Brock Bowers. Ash, you've taken Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels 1, 2. May goes at 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4 to Arizona, JJ McCarthy goes at 5 to the Minnesota Vikings in a trade up with the Chargers, 6 is Joe Alt to the Giants, Fashanu 7 to the Titans, Turner to Atlanta at 8, Neighbors to Bears at 9, Fautanu to the Jets at number 10, Fuanga in a trade with the Chargers and Vikings goes to the Chargers at 11, Bo Nix at 12 to Denver, 13 is Quinion Mitchell to the Raiders, Latham at 14 to the Saints, Arnold at 15 to the Colts, and Seattle take Graham Barton at 16. For myself, I've gone Williams at 1, Drake May at 2, Jaden Daniels at 3 to the New England Patriots, Marvin Harrison goes 4 to the Cardinals, JJ McCarthy at 5 to the to the Vikings, Neighbors at 6 to the Giants, Alt at 7 to the Titans, Rome Odunze in a trade up after going back down by the Chargers at 8, Fuanga to the Bears at 9, Bowers to the Jets at 10, Arnold in a trade to Atlanta at 11, Quinion Mitchell goes to Detroit at 12, Fautanu 13 to the Raiders, Fashanu to the Saints at 14, DeJean to the Colts at 15, and Seattle 16, Dallas Turner, and then Tom has gone Williams and Daniels 1, 2, Drake May at 3 to the Patriots, Marvin Harrison at 4 to the Cardinals, JJ McCarthy at 5 to Minnesota, Neighbors at 6 to the Giants, Alt at 7 to Tennessee, Dallas Turner at 8 to the Falcons, at 9 the Bears go with Rome Odunze, at 10 the Jets go for Bowers, 11 is the Chargers and JC Latham, Latu goes at 12, the first time and the only time he's been in the top half of the first round goes to the Denver Broncos, Arnold at 13 to the Raiders, Fashanu at 14 to the Saints, Quinion Mitchell to the Colts at 15, and Fautanu to the Seattle Seahawks at 16, which, just looking at these first half of the first round, boys, I think Fautanu has gone in all of them, which I think even a month ago would be a surprise to a lot of people, maybe one of the biggest rises in this whole process. We've only seen Cooper DeJean go in my draft, I think, but he's on the board for almost everyone else. I think Fuanga's come off everywhere. Has Terry and Arnold gone everywhere? No, Ryan's still on the board for you. Having a look at those top half of the first round and people in the chat, let me know what you think as well. Who's had the closest to reality top half of the first round that you can see? What do you think, boys?
I mean, obviously mine. We're all going to be. Like, there's been 15 trades in the last 2, first rounds of, these drafts. There's going to be trade. You've got to be brave and put trades in here. If you keep standing pat, there are a lot of teams who are just not going to pick where they are, so gotta make it fun. If people looking at mine out of context will think, oh my God, but it does have sound reasoning. So I just got to hope that people think like me in NFL front offices.
I think Ryan's has the ring of truth. Looking at it now, I hate Neighbours going 9 to the Bears, but I like it. Fautanu, I can just see someone falling in love with his skill set if they're convinced he's a tackle. May, I mean, if people are buying into that fool, the draft very much could go that way. And verse to the Colts makes so much sense. I can't even, like Chris Ballard, isn't it? Like, he just loves investing in that position and swinging and missing. I'm not saying that he's going to reverse, but like, he just takes edge. It's what he does. So I think that's the closest for me. All right. Thanks to OnePrido427 subscribing on Twitch at tier 1 for his 12th month, a full year. I love it. He says, let's go 9 days till the draft. I can't wait. Bobo Land says, Matt with his trade up to 12 for Detroit is the most realistic draft. Love you, man. Right. Second half of the draft. Let's go. We're starting with Tom. And I just said Cooper DeJean is on the board for everyone except me. Well, he's not anymore because he's coming off at 17 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I am having a look at the Jags, and I just want to bring up their depth chart to make sure that my thinking on this was absolutely right, because it's been a while since I had a look at this.
The depth chart is very good. Andre Cisco is one of the rising strong safeties. Tyson Campbell's become quite good, and Ronald Darby. I think they've got quite a good young caller building.
They do. It's one of those teams that's kind of just underrated because they've underperformed, but I think that they just take what I'm regarding potentially as the best guy on the board at a position where they're actually pretty strong, but I think that this GM doesn't really care. They're going to take a player that, I mean, I'm not saying they're giving up on the Traven Walker projects yet, even at number 1, but he's not lived up to his draft billing so far. And they're going to take an FSU prospect who, needs to go high because he's just that good. Josh Allen's just been re-signed to a big deal. He's got to play reps, but Walker flatters us. Even 3 edge guys who can play really well. You can't say no to that. So Jared Verse comes off here. Ash, you have a trade.
Yeah, I decided to get a bit spicy with things at this point. And I looked at the board and I was like, Cincinnati up next after the Jags. They infamously need O-line, but so do some other teams. And particularly one in division with the Bengals who will probably want to jump up and snipe that last sort of tier of offensive tackle on their board before things get into real sort of bad territory for themselves. So I have the Pittsburgh Steelers trading up in front of their divisional foes, the Bengals, to get the last tackle on their board with the Jags. I believe I traded them 17 for 20. So the Jags will be up pretty soon anyway. And I believe that I gave them the second and then a third next year for the Steelers to come up and get the tackle and snake out of Georgia, Amarius Mims.
That seems harsh.
I mean, he ratted on my FSU program and got us into some recruiting issues, which I know Michigan fans will know all about now because they've got slapped through some today as well for the next couple of years. But you look at that Steelers O-line, it's okay. Like, I love Broderick Jones, decent pick last year in that first round. But Dan Moore on the other side at left tackle, he's not really. It's kind of like the Broderick Jones situation. I know, Baxter Jones situation for the Bears, where he's decent, he's outperformed his draft billing of the 2021 fourth rounder, but they need something else there to protect Russell Wilson and Fields, whoever is going to be playing quarterback for them. So they take the last tackle on their board. Mims has got all the upside in the world. He could really hit for them and be a franchise left tackle for them. He could also bust, but at this point, the Steelers, number 1, obviously want to improve the O-line, but number 2, also want to stop their rivals, the Bengals, potentially getting that last piece on their offensive line as well.
Brian, you've taken a player who's come off the board in a couple of mocks so far, someone that I just have a lot of love for.
Yeah, like I said, I just said Tyson Campbell. You've got Cisco. You brought in Ronald Darby, but we know what he is and what he ain't. You just lost Darius Williams, big loss. Quinion Mitchell fits the Jags like a glove.
Love it. And you've gone for a similar position.
Yeah, so initially when I did this yesterday, I had the same Steelers trade, but I've backed out of it. I've wussed out because I've got enough already. But I don't know. The Jags are such a weird team. Like they could go receiver, they could do a lot here. They could go D tackle, but I've gone corner as well. Again, I think that room needs a proper cornerback one in there with the correct ceiling, like who's going to be great, not just good. So I've taken Nate Wiggins. I think I would put him there. He's highly athletic, highly gifted. I think he's going to fit that room really well. If it takes a little bit of time for him to develop, which it might do more than some of the others, it doesn't really matter because, as I said, they've already got some good guys in there, so they can afford a little bit more of a development period for him. So I think Nate Wiggins goes to Jacksonville, although I wouldn't be surprised if they traded it, but I've gone cold on the trades for now.
I mean, don't need to worry about him having to be a development player because you've got Amani or Warriors back up, so you know. Anyway, moving on to pick 18 and the Cincinnati Bengals, and this must have killed you making this pick.
It does, and you know, I get they do need some more offensive line help there, but you know, we took a very big part of their team, literally and figuratively, this offseason when we got DJ Reader, and they now have a big hole in the interior of that defensive line. And I just, when again, you're coming up against the Steelers, you're coming up against the Ravens, you're coming up against some teams with some, you know, they're very tough, very physical. You want to dish out the same to them. And I believed in him since day one. He's not going to slide. Jazane Newton, as much as it hurts my soul, is going to go there. He's not the same type of player. Like, Reader's got the build of a nose tackle and can play on that interior a bit more. Jazane Newton's going to play more at the 3, but he's going to be just as disruptive. You put Jazane Newton next to Trey Hendrickson, and like AFC North GMs are going to be fearing for the life of their quarterbacks for some time. They will have a stacked unit. They will replace Reader's loss. And I think they will be, I will certainly watch them. I love Trey Hendrickson. I love what Jazane Newton's going to be. I think they're going to go DT and they're going to leave offensive line a little bit.
Ryan, where have you gone here?
So for me, AFC North, you're going to die by the pass. And the Bengals just lost a big player in Chidobe Awuzie. So I'd give him a straight replacement, Terrion Arnold. I say go lock down some of the receivers in that division.
All right. Ash, what about you?
People might be looking at my mock draft and be thinking, where's a certain player? Admittedly, it's because I believe you all, as you said, you used the PFF mock draft one, and I used PFM because I couldn't use PFF's one at time at work. So I had to make do with PFNs while I was doing it. But seems the Bengals continue to stay rich at wide receiver. We know they've just lost Sir Tyler Boyd. They've got T. Higgins on the franchise tag and he wants out or he wants getting paid. They need somebody to go opposite Jamar Chase for the long term. So finally, the roads have finally come home and all roads lead to Rome or Dunze, heading to Cincinnati for me. And this is the particular pick that makes me hate my mock draft because he shouldn't be going that low. But it's just how the board felt when I was doing the mock draft sim. I hate it because it's just another weapon for Joe Burrow to throw at, and that passing attack is going to still be deadly for years to come.
I am really trying to move quickly, trying to work out what the hell I was thinking with mine. I'm going to back it, but I'm not sure why. Actually, hang on. No, I'm good. I think I'm good. Yeah, let's go with this. Okay, so I think the Bengals have a need at tackle, specifically right, because I don't like Trent Brown particularly much. He's fine, but JC Latham has slipped far enough. Bengals need to protect Joe Burrow. This is my pick. I'm not going to say any more because I actually low-key don't like it, but I wanted to find somewhere for Latham to go because he's better than this position. But there we go. Tom went in a similar vein of thought to me, so maybe my thinking is not so bad because he went for Talise Fuanga. And then whipping back around to the Rams, he's gone with Jared Verse at number 19. The Rams make up for an amazing guy at DT going by bolstering the edge position. Can't hate that. For myself, defensive tackle comes off the board, but not Jazane Newton. They've gone with Byron Murphy for me. This is just because they've lost the defensive tackle, so they take what they will see as the best one on the board, what the consensus say is the best defensive tackle on the board. I don't agree, but I think they will. So Byron Murphy to them. Well, I don't know why I put Brian Murphy. That's going to be wrong. Byron Murphy. Ash, where have you gone?
I went in a similar vein, I thought, to Tom. But I looked a bit closer to home for the LA Rams. I went to the local UCAL team and got their edge to stay close to home and come play under Sean McVay and such. So I've got them taking Latu because, yes, I know they've lost Aaron Donald, but you just look at that edge room and we saw it personally last year. Byron Young had a good, decent season. O'Shawn Mathis is okay. Michael Hoyt infamously can't cover tight ends. They need a little spark there. And for me, Latu can be that. He'll slide right in that sort of Von Miller role that I had a couple of years ago. And he'll at least partly make up for losing Donald on the interior. While obviously my favourite pick from last year for them, Kobe Turner, will step up and continue his great season from last year. And Corey Durden, the former UDFA for us, will slide right into that other D role. Will never be Aaron Donald, but he'll still be decent for them.
Ryan, you've gone with the same pick.
Yep. Position of need, and he's on the doorstep. Like I said, a spine between Byron Young and Kobe Turner, one of the best rookies last year. That middle is pretty solid. Give him an edge rusher. Latu is very disruptive, and they've just lost like the best player in NFL history on the defensive side of the ball. So if you're going to go in the NFC West, you best have some pass rush. With the offensive lines have been heavily built up against the last few years.
And you've also gone with Jared Verse.
Yeah, but I've obviously got Denver picking here at this spot because they've traded back. So I've not. So for me, Sean Payton is not going to settle for a reserve quarterback. You can't afford to do that. There's only two reasons you cut Russell Wilson and take on all that dead cap. Number one is you're going to trade up and you're going to get the guy of the future, which they can't do from the position they're at. They're not going to get their guy, or you're tanking. And I think that they made that decision knowing they were probably not going to be so hot next year so that he can go and get his quarterback next year. But just because you're tanking doesn't mean you can't stock good assets going forward. The Broncos don't have a great pass rush. And Verse is like, he's the better guy he's better than Latu for me in terms of his floor is going to be a lot higher if he only meets his floor. Like Latu's could be so low, but I just think Verse he would fit really well in Denver. Start rebuilding your trenches. Don't worry about your quarterback. You got a second round pick this year as well because of this trade, which you can invest in the trenches as well. Take your lumps. Like Peyton can't afford to draft a second-rate quarterback now and hitch his wagon to it. Otherwise, he's not going to get another one. So you go the opposite way and you'll be bad on purpose with ownership, knowing full well that it's going to be a long process, but you'll eventually get your guy.
All right, peeps, we've got 13 picks to go each, and we've been going a little while, so I'm going to get the hurry up on for the rest of this. Pittsburgh at 20, and
so as we all know, I am the Pittsburgh genius when it comes to... I always get the Pittsburgh picks. I've got a pretty good handle on them at this point. I had the Najee Harris one. Like, I think I know them better than the Lions, which is weird. But I'm going to take... What was a popular pick that's no longer a popular pick, but they need offensive line. They need it badly. But the thing is, I don't give a hoot about positional value. There's a position on the line which is very damn valuable, which so many teams overlook. They can't afford to, having bought in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You've got to protect directly in front of them. You need a guy who can command the offensive line and lead from the front. And I don't believe all that's been spouted about him. Jackson Powers Johnson is a Pittsburgh Steeler through and through and through. If you are going to reset that line for your quarterback of the future, you start at the center spot, you work your way out, and you just go from there. They need a center. They've needed one since Pouncey retired. It's been a shit show for them at the position since he's gone. You take JPJ here and you start making that line better for the future. He is a Steeler through and through, and I think they are going to make that decision on night, unless they trade up for one of the better tackles. I think they stay here and they get him, and they're going to be very happy.
Ryan, you've gone the same way.
Yep, their penciled-in starter is Nate Herbig, and his backup is Detroit legend Ryan McCollum. That's a shit show center. That's not good for a new quarterback pairing. Get a new guy snapping the ball. Get the Oregon big man.
Ash, you have a different team on the board because of a trade earlier.
Yep, so Jacksonville's back up. And for me, I like their edge room. I'm okay with edge room. Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, they can get by with that. For me, it's up front. They've got Devon Hamilton. They've got Eric Armstead just signed. It's that other D spot down there. And I'm like, they could improve there. But I don't go for Johnny. Because for me, I think they will want someone that's a bit smaller to sort of flex around. So I get them taking the guy out of Texas, Byron Murphy.
Myself and Tom are aligned on this one. Pittsburgh, I mean, I just don't like the Steelers in terms of where they're at as a team. They've been pretenders for some time. And, I mean, is Dan Moore still a thing? Come on, guys. We're over this. They're going to take the best offensive lineman on the board, or at least maybe the guy that's got the highest upside. Amarius Mims comes off the board here for them, for myself and for Tom. Tom then goes for Graham Barton to Miami at 21. And for myself, they're going to take a player which is going to break the hearts of many Lions fans, although not in my draft because we've already gone at 12. But the starting nose tackle in a 3-4 for the Dolphins is Benito Jones, apparently. So they're going to take what in my mock is DT2, in my heart is DT1. He's not a nose tackle, but they'll barely be playing 3 down linemen anyway because everyone plays a nickel nowadays anyway. Jazane Newton comes off the board here at 21 to Miami. Ash, you also have gone the same way.
Yep, complete same reasoning. So Benito Jones is okay. Zach Seiler, though, Deshaun Hand is currently slated to start for them in the 3 down up front. They need DT help. So, yeah, they take the best DT available. And it has positional versatility to play all 3 spots. Here's Johnny.
Ryan and Ant, you're in lockstep in the last pick, and you are again here. Ryan, you've both taken Amarius Mims from Georgia.
Some of that Miami offensive line play last year was heinous. Those tackles stink. If they're not giving up penalties, they're whiffing on blocks. One of them's got to go, if not both of them. They're a liability to Tua. Well, Tua's a liability himself. Get the big man in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was reading the other day when I was researching this. The Dolphins select more offensive linemen in the first round than any other position by a long way. It's a position they covet high when they're drafting. And I agree with Ryan. There's terrible play on there at the minute. Amarius Mims, I really like the guy. It's just those hamstring issues for such a big guy are such a worry for me. But NFL teams aren't probably going to mind as much. And the Dolphins need to get better at protecting Tua. So, you know, I do think tackle is the one for them. I think they should trade out, really, because they've only got 6 picks in this draft. But again, their history, they love taking the O-line early. I think they do it again. I think Mims fits them very well.
And Philly solve their problems at corner for you.
I mean, this is obvious. I mean, for me, it's obvious. Bradbury and Slay are getting old, and they've got nobody in behind them. They had what, the 23rd, 24th worst pass defense last year. It's old, it's tired, it needs refreshing. They need new blood in the building. So I'm higher on him than most others. This is where JaQuincy McKinstry comes off the board for me. I know Cooper DeJean's still there, but in terms of style of cornerback you're looking for with Philly, for me, he's more a Philly cornerback than what Cooper DeJean is in terms of his skills and play set. So I fancy McKinstry to go there. If it's not McKinstry, it's going to be a corner. But I'm pretty confident they're going to go there. Like I say, old, need young bodies, need to retool. That would be the pick for them.
Ryan, you and Tom are in lockstep with this one. You're staying at corner.
Oh, yeah, it's easy. Bradbury's turning 31. Slayer's turning 34 last year. They didn't look good. They're slow. Nate Wiggins, he brings the speed to go up against some of the elite talent that is on the other side of the ball in the NFC East. There's some fast receivers that these guys just cannot go up against anymore.
Ash, you've gone with a slightly different position.
Yep. The Eagles like to reload on their defensive line, and they still do here by taking the best defensive lineman on the board. And my personal favourite guy, the rich get richer, versus you are an Eagle.
For me, this was the Eagles taking the how could we let this player fall to this team? Because the Eagles always seem to be the team that picks that guy. And it's Laiatu Latu. Maybe the best defensive player in the draft. Goes at 22 to Philly. I hate it, but that's why I did it. For at 23, Tom had the Chargers trading down with the Vikings, so they're picking here. And the Chargers fix a problem wide receiver, which we've all been talking about. Brian Thomas comes off the board here for them. For myself, I also have the Chargers picking here, and they put a bandage over the problem they have at cornerback with Christian Fulton coming in. I like Asante Samuel, who didn't have a great year last year, but I think he'll come good. I believe in him. But Fulton is not the answer long term. Who is? We've spoken about him several times already. Nate Wiggins is the guy for me who comes off here. Ash, you went the same as Tom with Brian Thomas.
Yeah, we've said it before. Herbert needs people to throw to. Brian Thomas is the best available wide receiver, and he'd be a good fit there, I think. So, makes sense.
Ryan, you had the Giants in the trade down with Minnesota, so the Giants are on the board here, and this is going to shock a few people, I think.
The Giants have an extra first-round pick they didn't think they'd have. For me, Daniel Jones is not the answer. They take Michael Penix Jr. at 23rd overall as the heir apparent in, I say, I gave him a weapon in Dunze. If Jones, who I don't believe is it, they need to get out of that contract at the end of the season. They have a guy ready to step in. It's an extra pick, so for me, it's a no-lose situation. If it don't pan out, so be it. They've not actually lost anything because they moved down and acquired a new pick, and he could turn out to be an absolute steal if he does show exactly what he did in college and stays healthy. He could be a terror for the NFC East for many years to come.
And your trade down was with another different team, and so you've got Arizona on the clock here.
And Christmas for Arizona and their trade keeps getting better for them. You know, we soon forget about Marvin Harrison Jr. Laiatu Latu has fallen at this stage, not because I think he's bad, but just because of how the board has played out. But the Cardinals have a need at edge big time, and having this extra first-round pick allows them to address yet another hole early doors, and they're going to get it with a player who should be gone long before here, but Latu's just going to create some explosion on that defensive line, get after some of the quarterbacks in that division, get after Stafford, though. Like, he'll have a field day. Plays in that area of the world as well, accustomed to the weather, again, accustomed to the way they play. So, yeah, Cardinals get Latu. They've got neighbors. They've got 2 extra first-round picks. That's not bad for missing out on MHJ.
And then you take a player that someone has taken earlier than this, but I think you might be the next one to do so for Dallas at 24.
Yeah. So again, this comes back to players screaming that they belong on a certain team. The Cowboys have a need on the offensive line again, specifically on the interior. I've got Graham Barton going here. He screams Dallas Cowboy again. Incredibly versatile in the middle, depending on what they want to do with him. They can play him a tackle, guard, center, whatever. But I know there's been a ton of interest in as far as he goes there. But he looks and feels like a Cowboys offensive lineman. They have a type. They're like a really mean, rather aggressive type of offensive lineman. There was a certain style of play, and just every time I've seen him play, I just keep thinking Cowboy. It just feels like that. The only thing he doesn't have, which the Cowboys covet, is a rap sheet. So, like, he's going to have to change that. But, you know, I'm sure he'll get in trouble with the law sooner rather than later. But, like, Graham Barton to Dallas as a fit, I would love him to go there because I think he would be excellent. So, yeah, they do really well getting a versatile offensive lineman to help rebuild in front of Dak. Love it.
Ryan, you've taken a player that maybe this might be the highest he's mocked all season long by absolutely everyone.
And that doesn't bother me. All good things come to an end. The Spice Girls, the Backstreet Boys, the Dallas Cowboys O-line, in his plug-in. Jordan Morgan, Arizona, the offensive tackle. Now, I tell you this, if he'd not lost a year to an ACL and played his whole career, he would be a top 20 draft pick this year. Absolute stud. And he rebounded from that injury so well this year in one of the best Wildcat teams I've ever seen. He is a future he's a future starting tackle in the NFL, and it's time for Dallas to start the rebuild now. Pick him up here.
Ash, you've filled another hole on the offensive line for Dallas.
Yeah, my thinking's pretty much the same as Ant's, except for I think I've gone for the other big centre guy in Jackson Powers Johnson. They need a centre. Slots right in there, and again, the rich stay rich.
Tom thinks along the same lines as me. Michael Gallup has gone. He's taking Xavier Worthy at 24 to Dallas, which might be, again, the highest we see him mocked all season long. For myself, Brian Thomas Jr. is still on the board. I think that's a perfect fit. I mean, at the end of the day, Jalen Tolbert's a starting wide receiver for them right now. He has 280 yards in 2 seasons with them. Their other starting wide receiver, apart from CeeDee Lamb, is Brandon Cooks, who just came off one of the worst seasons of his career. Still had 8 touchdowns, but he only had about 680 or so yards. And no one ever seems to believe in Cooks. No matter where he's been, he's always been doubted. I think they're going to see Brian Thomas as Cook's successor. And Tolbert, I mean, is he going to be active for most of the games this season? He wasn't last year, and he wasn't the season before. So let's see what happens. Tom then has Green Bay up at 25 and takes Tyler Guyton. I also stay on the offensive line and go for Graham Barton. We've spoken about him already. Green Bay always invest in the trenches. It's just their thing. It's what they like to do. They've also lost a couple of guys on the interior. So I think this is going to be a good pick for him. Could eventually replace Josh Myers because I just don't think he's going to get re-signed. Could replace Sean Ryan straight away. Don't know, but I think it's going to be a good pick either way. Ash, you've taken the guy for the Packers.
Yeah, they love their first round corners, and this is just a link that you keep seeing again and again and again, and there's no smoke without fire. So they get the guy out of Iowa who can start over Kayshawn Nickel in the nickel, can play some safety for him, basically do what Darnell Savage done for them last year, but a whole lot better for them. Unfortunately, they get Cooper DeJean out of Iowa.
And you went the same way.
Yeah. Like, again, you talk about players looking like them. Again, this is sort of where he looks and feels like a Packer. Like, they love the guys who do the return work as well. He's a great returner, versatile DB. And the big thing that also sells it is, again, the type of corner he is. So forget their new defensive coordinator is the old Boston College head coach. And you think their type of DBs that come in, Elijah Jones coming into the draft this year, what is he? He's a guy who gets his head round, keeps the quarterback and the receiver in his line of view, doesn't play with his back to the ball. He plays with his head turned round. That's how they can make so many plays on the ball. Cooper DeJean is that exact type of cornerback. So if you give him to Hafley there, like, he will make a star out of him. So, all the stuff aside, like schematically, he's the exact type of guy you want there. Because a lot of the other guys that run with the back to the ball, Cooper DeJean doesn't. And that's why I really like the fit there as well. And I think he'll fall to there.
You've also taken Tyler Guyton to Green Bay, Ryan.
Yep, he's got visible issues. A lot of things he needs to work on. But they need some projects on that O line, and they need to start stashing some guys away. If he does come good, well, I feel like I'm not going to enjoy coming up against him. He could be an absolute mauler if he learns how to use that body.
And coming back round to you, Tampa Bay 26, addressing the offensive line.
So Ryan Jensen is no more in the league anyhow. Like, he's alive and well, bless him. But they don't have a center on this team anymore. Like, you've invested in Baker. You want to keep that continuity going. You want to have high-level center play. Someone set the tone like he did. So this is the first appearance, and I believe it's true that he's a first-round pick of Zach Frazier. I believe that he's going to be a great addition to this Bucs team. Again, I know they have other needs, but I can't understate just how good critical center play is to to an offensive line. So many teams, it's so bad. And the Bucs understood this. They've ran with a great guy for years. You've seen when he's not been in that team, they've been completely different without him. You have to invest in them. It doesn't need to be a tackle. Go get Zach Frazier. Again, it sort of fits the scheme of which they run there. He's just an absolute brute mauler who's worked in that system and who's molded in that system. I love the fit with him there, and I know it won't be a sexy move because he's the second center off, but Zach Frazier's a first-round talent. The Bucs should take him there.
Ryan, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traded a cornerback to the Detroit Lions, and so have a gaping need.
They traded a cornerback, and they've got the 28th worst passing defense in the league, giving up 249 yards a game. Make that make sense. Cooper DeJean just walks in there. Imagine him, the things you could do with him and Antoine Winfield Jr. You can have him at nickel, outside corner. You could just rotate him all around. They'd have fun, yeah. Their passing defense just sucks. I don't see him falling this far, but I'm glad it's not Green Bay.
And Ash, I guess you were thinking similar things, but took the best cover corner in the draft.
Yeah, because as we all know, Tampa run a lot of zone. This guy fits his own scheme pretty damn well, in my opinion. So yeah, the best cover corner, but they're not the best overall corner because he does have some issues, size, ability against the run. But Tampa can hide those deficiencies. So they get the guy out of Clemson, Nate Wiggins.
For Tom, he went with the first appearance of the Penn State edge Chop Robinson here to Tampa Bay. And you know what? I've got to say that I really like this pick because it is just what Tampa Bay do, especially late in the first round. I think that he's going to come in this scenario and replace Joe Tryon-Shinker quite quickly. Yaya Diaby on the other side had a really good first year in the league, and I think that fills a position in need with a high upside guy who could do bits. I mean, I still think he's second/third rounder, but the NFL is not going to think that way, and Tampa Bay are exactly the sort of team that are going to make that. For me, I have a trade here, and I have a team coming up who only need to go up 5 spots and only need to give up a third-round pick to do it. But San Francisco haven't got over the hump yet. And if you have a look at why they haven't, it's because, for me, Ambry Thomas has played a big part in not looking great against better teams. He just gets a bit exposed. He'll be fine against some of the lesser teams. He's fine as that third cornerback. With Travarius Ward and I can never say his name, but Lenore at corner, they're fine. But getting that third guy, especially when you have 3 corners on the field so often, is key, especially when Travarius Ward has injury issues potentially as well. So San Francisco are trading up to 26 with Tampa from 31 to take maybe the best cornerback now on the board. There's some debate about that, especially with the little injury that he's had in the offseason. He may be the most mocked guy to the Lions, but Kool-Aid McKinstry comes off the board here at 26 to San Francisco. Byron Murphy II comes off the board at 27 to Arizona. I have, and some people will be surprised he's lasted this long. Some people may be surprised he's going in the first round at all. I don't know. But if you have a look at the Arizona Cardinals, they need, for me, offensive line help. They need to protect Kyler Murray. I think they need a center. So they're going Jackson Powers Johnson. Ash, you're going in a very different direction.
Yeah, very different direction. And maybe it's because I've had the Brad Holmes like sort of pushed into me that just because you take a position once already in the draft doesn't mean you can't double down if that's how the board feels. Like you look at the Cardinals wide receiver room, Michael Wilson we liked, but hasn't really done much. Chris Moore, Greg Dortch, Zach Pascal, Andre Baclera, Jeff Smith, who we all know famously from the Jets game. There's not a lot there. So while you're getting Kyler one weapon, why don't you get another one to stick on the other side for him? It's the first appearance of A.D. Mitchell out of Texas.
Ryan, you are doing something quite interesting.
Yep, so I looked at the Arizona Cardinals depth chart. Their penciling starters at corner could be Starling Thomas and Sean Maybe Bunting. So the Lions say, nope, we're trading from 29 to 27, so they can't take this corner. The Lions are moving up 2 spots, giving away the 3rd round pick, and they're taking Kool-Aid McKinstry to add into that defensive back rotation room because the Cardinals could very well take him at this spot. So, yep, I said we're getting a new face in Detroit and we're giving up a day 2 pick for it.
So, there go.
No, please tell us who's going at pick 27 to Arizona, because you're going to shock the world right here.
No, I'm not. I'm the only one who's going to pick this guy, and you know I'm the only one who's going to pick this guy. But because of what I've done with the Cardinals, and so obviously they traded down, they traded back up to get their receiver. They've got a receiver at 23. They got Latu. You've got so many more picks in the top 100 that now you can sort of go off piste a bit and sort another problem out. So they do have problems at corners, but it's a deep corner class. You still go get one. The more depth at receiver, it's a deep receiver class. You can still go get one. It's not a very deep linebacker class. And they don't have many good linebackers on that team. And they are going to need a starter for the future here. And of course, he's going to be in there. Peyton Wilson is going to be drafted by the Cardinals with their 3rd pick there. Because, again, he's not just an inside linebacker. Plays on the outside as well. You can use him on edge. You can use him in a hybrid motion there. So not only going to help boost your pass rush, but he's going to be the guy at inside linebacker for a decade to come there. That is what you could do, because linebacker is a need for them. They've got a lot of needs on that team, and I think you make a jump on it because there are not as many good linebackers knocking around in this draft as corners and wide receivers. Peyton Wilson is a 1st-round talent, and somebody's going to take a gamble on him. If the cards work out this way, I think it'll be them.
Zayvon Collins 2.0.
At 28...
excuse me, your owner, thank you. Your owner. He has never lost a game against Florida State, so you will address him properly.
At 28, and would have been Buffalo, but they traded up to 9 with Chicago, which means the Bears are on the clock here.
Yeah, and if this works out the way it does, I'm going to be quite gutted because they'll have traded back 20 spots, but they'll still get their receiver because Brian Thomas Jr. is still on my board. I'm just not convinced these receivers are going to start going as high as a lot of others are making out because tackles, corners, they're going to rut up the system here. So the Bears, I do agree. And again, I've been guilty as anyone saying they need to pick offensive line here, but all the good tackles are gone. All the good centers are gone. You're going to be reaching on guards here. They've got extra picks because of this trade with Buffalo, so they can start sorting those picks out in the 2nd and 3rd round. They'll go get another weapon there. They get to trade back here. They get Brian Thomas Jr. to pair with DJ Moore and that. I'd hate it, but for them, that'd be a dream scenario to trade back so far and still get him. So Bears have a good day in my scenario here.
Ryan, different team, same result.
Buffalo needs a receiver. Brian Thomas Jr. is on the board. Putting in Buffalo, he's got a chance to win Offensive Rookie of the Year because Josh Allen will lock in on him pretty much every other player.
Ash, different player, same result.
Yep. They have some separators already. What they need is a catch ball guy. So why don't they get one of the best ones in the class and someone who is being severely underrated? Keon Coleman gets to play with Josh Allen and continue his ascendancy for the past year.
So, Buffalo for me, I'll just say this now. I don't think their head coach is on the block. I know that Sean McDermott has had his issues with whatever that Ant was talking about before, and I totally agree that those didn't look great for him. But if his head truly was on the block, Stephon Diggs would still be there. And I think that actually the ownership allowing that to happen is a vote of confidence in this ownership, in this leadership. And so I think that they look at the board and they take the guy who maybe needs a bit more development, but at 28, I think that they don't get aggressive because they don't have to. I know that they are getting behind Kansas City, but I think that they are a smart group of people at the top there that realise that they're probably not going to overtake Kansas City next year no matter what they do. And so they stand pat here and take the guy who maybe can replace one of their tackles when they can't afford to pay them because they've overpaid for everyone else. Long term, this team is on the downward trend, and so they need to look to the future. And so they take the tackle from Oklahoma, Tyler Guyton. Tom takes A.D. Mitchell here for the Buffalo Bills. Talked about their need for a receiver, which makes all the sense in the world. And then Tom is only gone and bloody done it for Detroit at 29. Out of Mizzou, the defensive lineman Darius Robinson comes off at 29. For the trade down for me, so the Lions went up to 12, which means Denver are here at 29. They've taken the guy that a lot of people were mocking to them at 12. Bo Nix is still here. Bo Nix is a Denver Bronco. Ash, what's Detroit doing for you?
We're drinking the Kool-Aid, boys. Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Ryan, it's not Detroit because they've already traded up.
Nope, this is Arizona. And if you look at Arizona, they were dead last in rush yards allowed this year, 143 per game. A poor defense for lack of leadership. So let's bolster their middle. They get Jazan Newton to anchor the middle of that defensive line and help fix a huge problem for them.
And I am not going to spoil your pick by saying anything at all. The floor is yours, sir.
Oh dear, yeah. Well, you can all thank Ryan for this one. This is stemming from a very long time ago, but
I did think about, in terms of corners, if we weren't going to trade up for one, who's going to be available at this point, and you've got to look for who fits Detroit's more than anyone. You've got to look at who fits this mold. Who are they going to like? Who are the players that are going to do that? And this guy, he plays the game of football with the intensity and the passion you will want of a guy against the run. He is absolutely fierce, like Dan Campbell. He would be a Dan Campbell player, what we would declassify as one. He plays in both man and zone, very scheme versatile. What Aaron Glenn would want in terms of his DBs. And he's a need for Detroit. We need a coverage corner, and we're going to need a good one. And maybe people are going to say this is too high, but he has been getting into first-round mocks a lot recently, and I can buy it. I think he's good enough, and I'm going to be very, very, very brave. I'm going to draft Max Melton, and you can all cry about it, but Max Melton is a top-tier talent at the next level. You can helmet scout. Rutgers are a great school for DBs. They've had a lot come out these last few years. They're high talent, and he is a Dan Campbell player. And I actually felt comfortable enough looking at all this to say it with a straight face. He is your dark horse pick at 29 out of all the corners there. So I don't care. Sue me. Max Melton is the pick for the Lions. And I think he would fit in perfectly here.
Ash was so confident in your pick that he put K-A-D in YouTube and then looked bloody shocked when you said Max Melton.
Oh, not Abrams Train. Not Abrams Train, no.
Oh.
Still love Abrams Train.
The guy you have been pumping the train for months is a first-round corner. You didn't go for him.
See, Max Melton fits the profile of a Detroit. I love CAD, I do. But, like, for me, he's more a Lions player, Max Melton is. And I said this in our podcast, because he came up in our challenge the other week. He was the one player I said screams to me everything Detroit wants. Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, the team need. like if you're going to have someone who's going to shock and do it, because Brad's never really picked this late before with his first ever pick. But we know if he likes his guys, he'll go and get them. And Max Melton is not going to be available at 61. Like he's going to be long, long gone. So I know even Ryan probably won't back me taking it this high, but it's his fault because he talked me into this.
I do love the player. I don't care about the value. So if he's here, then do you know what? I'll look the other way about the pick. I think he's perfect.
And back on you, Ravens.
Right, yeah. So they need offensive line, I believe. For me, I take a look on there, and I think Falele is their scheduled right tackle starter in at this point, and that's not good. So you need a guy, and you're into the second level of tackles now, but you need a guy who can be pro ready the quickest because they are in a window at this moment in time. And again, he was another guy who came up on our 30 the other week. I think that teams are going to be sniffing here. I think I had him to the Commanders to protect their quarterback of the future, but I can see it been done here with the Ravens. Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. I think he's the closest thing to a pro-ready right tackle you're going to get at this point out of all the guys there. And in time, I think he's going to be a great tackle in the NFL, full stop. Like his career at Arizona has been good. I think he's going to translate well. He's going to come to a good team. So I've got him there. So, and I've got him in front of Tyler Guyton. I don't have him in my first round. I think he's a complete and utter bust, and he's not worthy of a first round pick. So Jordan Morgan comes before him, and rightfully so.
Here for the Tyler Guyton slander. Thanks to Big Aries 70 subscribing at tier 1 for his 27th month, saying, oh man, I'll have to rewatch this. Yes, you will. Ryan McCluskey, you stayed at offensive line for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep. We've just taken their Pro Bowl offensive guard. There's a guy there that wants to do exactly what I'm going to do. Graham Barton. Plug him and play him.
You've also seen the whole Ash at tackle for the Ravens.
Yep. But I've gone for, because I hate Guyton as well. We all know that. Blake Fisher is way better than him. But I agree that Falele, it hasn't worked out for him. Might be a good swing guy. They need someone. So I've gone someone that we know a bit closer to home in terms of we know him, but he's not going to come here. I'm going for Kingsley Sumatia out of BYU.
Tom also went offensive line with Jordan Morgan. I went a different direction. 4 of you went offensive line, but the Ravens keep drafting a particular position in round 1, and it keeps not working, and they have to keep trying. This guy is going to replace a player that I stand for a few years ago, and I was wrong. He just hasn't worked. And they brought in a guy to maybe try and play this position, but he's a journeyman in Nelson Aguilar. This man is my favourite prospect in the entire draft in terms of what he can do for a team. He is the guy. The lad, McConkey, goes to 29 to the Baltimore Ravens. Tom goes McConkey to San Francisco at 31. Now I'm up with, I think, Tampa Bay, even though I didn't write that in. Apologies. You didn't see that, so never mind, it was in white. Tampa Bay trade down 5 spots and get the guy that I think they'll absolutely love because he just fits the mold of their type of player. Bit of a developmental pick on the edge. Tom took him at 26, so I feel very secure in Chop Robinson going 31 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ash, you've forgotten about a prospect, and so you've just had to fit him in somewhere.
I didn't forget about him. I didn't at all. I just had him here because I love to fit. We know this team that's up for us right now is looking at a certain position because they tried to steal one of our guys. And while he might not be the best blocker, they won't need that right now with Kittle. They might have some time to work on it. But damn well, they have some impressive 2 tight end sets next year. Brock Bowers somehow, okay, because PFN doesn't value tight ends, so he was way down on their board, and this is what happened. Brock Bowers goes to San Francisco, and God help us all.
All right. Brock Bowers, San Francisco. Everyone dies. Ryan, San Francisco take an intriguing prospect for you.
Yep, so their left side of the line is very good, but very expensive. The right side of the line, John Feliciano, McKivitz. Yeah, I'm not always sold on that, especially long term. I give them a project in Kingsley Suamaitama. So I say potentially maybe slide over to that side, play tackle or guard. I think potentially one day he could fit in where because he won't be able to pay everyone on that line.
And I mean, I think you must be thinking along similar lines.
I've got exactly the same pick, and I think it makes a lot of sense because while I don't think they're not done on McKivitz yet, and Kingsley Suamatea's not ready to start, so this is an ideal position for them where they can keep McKivitz there, they can develop Kingsley into the team. They want to play him at guard a little, so be it, just to facilitate him into that side. We know they're not averse to doing that. Spencer Burford's on that line. He was a left tackle all his career. They've had him in at guard. So if it doesn't work with McKivitz, you can kick Kingsley out. If it does, you can keep him at right guard. I think that works really well for them, and I would love the fit there for Kingsley to go because he's not ready to be a right tackle starter, and they don't need one just yet. Needs a year, so he's ready to do so.
I just want to say this. I'm not trying to undercut you. That was not the pick that you had written down. That's the pick you want to have.
Oh, is Guyton still in there?
No, Mims you had.
Oh, Mims. Oh, yeah, get him out. Sorry, I thought I changed it all.
No, that's fine. I thought because you were making some last minute changes, that's what it was, but I just wanted to check.
Yeah. It is Suamatea.
You are first up for our last pick of the first round.
AD Mitchell to the Chiefs. I guess again, like he's gonna go absolutely nuts in that system. Quick separator guy who Mahomes doesn't really have there. So like out of all the receivers who are going to be knocking around in this point, I know a lot of people say McConkey, etc. Oh, I just see AD Mitchell thriving in that system, and they probably get him a little lower than they would have to because it's just how this draft is going to shake out. Good guy's going to get pushed down. But yeah, I figure Adonai Mitchell to be a Chief.
I'm right with you. That's what I've picked as well. Just fits them, especially with Rice having his legal issues at the moment. They've traded for Hollywood Brown, but I mean, is Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, or Sky Moore actually going to be a realistic wide receiver 2 in the NFL? I don't think so, but AD Mitchell really can be. So makes all the sense in the world. Ryan, you've gone for the other one.
I look at my pick now and I hate it. I know exactly who I should have put here. I picked Xavier Worthit, but now I don't like him. I know exactly who I'd put here instead.
Well, change it then.
I'm giving them Legetta. He's a wide receiver 2 at the next level. I think he'd be a perfect fit as a physical, more well-rounded guy.
All right. I will go Tom here, who is shocking everyone, I think, by taking a player who maybe has suffered the most during this draft process, who has been rumoured as a first-round pick all the way until he absolutely tanked the scouting combine. He's gone for Oregon wide receiver Troy Franklin, which I don't understand. But Tom isn't here to defend himself, so I can just say, "What are you doing?" and then leave it hanging. Ash, you have the honour of the very last pick of the first round.
Yeah. So I agree. Wide receiver. Unfortunately, the one that I probably would have seen as the best fit there, Keon. I took him earlier for Buffalo. They say I get to stick their nose up. But instead, Kansas City get the best separator in the class. Someone that's a bit undersized, but is going to be great with Mahomes, I think. They get the lad. Lad McConkey is my final pick of the first round.
There's a poll up on YouTube where you can vote for your favourite draft so far, or the best draft. It's up to you to decide what best means, whether that's best for Detroit, best in terms of accuracy, most exciting, whatever you want it to mean. Ant and Ash are out in front right now, despite Ant saying he knows he's not going to win a popular vote, but at the moment he's joint first, so, you know, maybe you can just have your cake and eat it. For you guys listening on the audio show, we'd love to hear your thoughts on what we've done, so do tweet at us with your thoughts on these. I'm going to post this mock draft to our socials, and then maybe I might get a nice PFF-looking manicured version of each one to go up as well. But it's been a long show, everybody, and I appreciate you sticking with us for our last show of the 2024 NFL draft cycle. Boys, some final thoughts on this first round. Are you happy with what you did? Did the Lions get what they needed? Just give us some overall thoughts. Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
I'm very happy with what I did. I think I was sensible, well measured, balanced, which means I'm probably going to get it all wrong. And I gave the Lions what they need. I think two things will happen. The Lions will pick something they don't need and shock us all, or they'll keep everyone up all night like us and they'll trade out the first round and they won't pick at all.
And what about you? Any regrets? I mean, you went draft heavy at the top and then it kind of fell away a little bit. I mean, I was thinking there might be a trade every pick.
Well, there were initially two others I had, because I had the Lions going up in my first one to get Jared Verse, but then because Denver screwed it up for me because I had Bo Nix going to Denver, and then because he came out because I took him out because I don't think Peyton's going to do it. I had to move it round, but again, like I said, there's been a lot of trade. There's been 15 trades in the last two first round NFL draft, and that's not including the pre-draft stuff. Like there was even more this year. It just feels like the stage is going to be set for like a stupid amount, whether it's pre or post. I think we're going to see as many as 8 or 9 this year. Like, because a lot of these teams in the late first, I didn't even do any in the late, but I think at the top, there are a lot of teams who can benefit. And the trades I've done, people look at it and go, oh my God, that's a cluster. You've listened to my reasoning throughout. It's actually not. There are a lot of team-friendly deals for both sides at the top of this draft, for teams who need to trade back a bit, for ones who just need to go forward and get the last piece. I think it works. It's very out there and avant-garde, as I've said, but I'm trying to be brave. Like, I hate doing these and like putting one trade in the summer because I just know instantly so much of it's going to be wrong. So screw it. I'm just going to try and guess what some of these trades are and get ahead of it. If I'm completely wrong, fine, but I had fun doing it. So, yeah.
It feels like it's one of those drafts where it's going to be a domino effect. If everyone stays where they are, everyone is going to continue to stay where they are. And as soon as one trade happens, it's going to set off a kind of chain reaction where everyone panics and it will allow everyone else to do their trades, I think. Ash, what do you think about your draft and all of the drafts?
I hate mine personally, but that's maybe because, as I keep saying, I use a different mock draft sim, so it just feels slightly out of sync with everyone else's. Hopefully I have some good reason, but there's some that I'm looking back and I'm like, I could have done that better. Like the Giants taking Olds. It's possible. Probably would have been better picks on the board thinking about it. But as I said, I was quickly doing it on my breakup work last Friday. So I was like, I've got to get this done just to make sure I've got something down, because otherwise I would have been sat here at 6:30, 7 o'clock still doing it. I was like, I just need to do it once and just leave it. So I like some of the picks. I really like Keon to Buffalo for obvious reasons, but for the most part, if I get 5 points, I'll be happy. If that, like maybe 3.
Just to reiterate the point scoring, because there's some questions on it. So a point for the player at the right pick, a point for the player to the right team, an extra point for the right player to the right team at the right pick, and a point taken away if you pick a player not picked in the first round. So a maximum score of 96 and minus 32 is your minimum score if you pick all players who don't appear in the first round, which I think is unlikely, but we'll see. Thank you to everyone in the YouTube and the Twitch and on the audio show for listening. You've been absolutely fantastic through this draft process. Myself and Ash, we will see you in Detroit. We have got plans to do plenty of content, so while it won't be a main show style thing, be prepared for an influx of a lot of stuff going on there. I'm hoping that we can bring in the boys during the draft for some roundup stuff as well, led by us in the States. If you are going to be at the draft, if you are in Detroit from Monday next week, from Monday next week, we will be in Detroit. If you want to meet up for a beer or some food, let us know. Get in touch, Twitter, email, whatever you want to do. You know how to find us, or get in our Discord and then you can DM us as well. We'd love to hear from you. Ryan and Ash, this is a labour of love for us, especially these last few shows with the mock drafts. Thank you for doing this for me all the way into almost 11 o'clock at night. It's been an odyssey, but we're finally here, and the draft is just over a week away. Thank you once again. Thank you to everyone for listening. We will see you on the other side when we break down what happened in the NFL draft. But for now, let's go Lions One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.
One question by Big Aries, actually, who said, would you take a trade back with Tampa Bay? Lions for 29, get 57 and a 2025 first.
No. That's going to be a mid-20s pick at best. No.
Yes,
I believe in the Falcons winning that division this year. I've said it before, but I believe in them, so I would be tempted. Thanks to Brent for the $2 super chat saying thanks, guys. Appreciate you very much, Brent. I'd be tempted. I think they'd say no. I would say yes, personally, because I kind of don't care. 29, 57, whatever. But, yeah, you can get Max Melton at 57, can't you?
No.
maybe. Yeah. you can get someone better. You can get Ronaldo Green.
Just need to put the gif out there saying that's bait for that comment. Apologies. Guys, I'm going to bounce so I can get this edited. I do have a thought that maybe potentially we could get some sort of mailbag in before I disappear on Saturday for London before the flight. So if any of you are free Friday evening, maybe, potentially, I don't know.
I might be, well, that'll be a good time to do it as well, because by then a certain news item will have dropped and we can discuss the return of the black uniforms.
That'd be good. And I presume you're working, unfortunately.
No.
No?
No.
Cool. Well, I'll be in touch more about that later, but maybe we can surprise people with even just a half an hour thing to drop, maybe at the weekend at some point, or whatever. But anyway. Right, people, we'll see you soon, but bye for now.